When I first woke up as a baby, I'm not ashamed to admit I completely lost it. Looking back now, 15 years later, the memory still feels like a bad dream I can't shake. It wasn't that I hated the idea of being reborn. If anything, it felt like a relief after what I vaguely remember as a brutal and painful death. The details are gone now, blurred out over time, but I remember the fear and the hurt. I also remember the pressure of losing my past life piece by piece. My name, my face, my history, all slipping through my fingers no matter how hard I try to hold on. I panicked over that at first. Forgetting yourself feels like dying twice. But the more the memories faded, the more I realized something. I didn't think I'd left much behind. No warmth, no laughter, no family or friends waiting on the other side. Maybe I simply never had them. So eventually, I let the past go. If fate wanted to give me another shot, I wasn't going to waste it. But that didn't make my first moments here any easier. Even with terrible newborn eyesight, I could make out shapes that didn't make sense. Adults with bat-like wings, dressed in clothes straight out of a Victorian painting, walking around a hospital room that was clearly modern. My first thought, great, I've been reborn into a vampire nest, and I'm going to end up as someone's juice box. That theory didn't last, but only because I finally managed to think straight after the sensory overload eased up. The sound were the worst, sharp, distorted, far too loud. Every breath of air felt strange, every texture overwhelming. It took days before I understood anything beyond pure instinct. But over time, the pieces came together. Slowly, painfully, but they did. I learned who the people around me were. I learned the name they gave me. I learned the house I belonged to. And eventually, I realized what kind of world I've been dropped into. My name is Alexander Gremory, twin brother to Rias Gremory, second son of Zeoticus Gremory, heir to a noble devil household. And the biggest shock of all, I'm living in the world of high school DxD. Once I figured out where I had been reborn, I forced myself to sit down and think, not about the panic or the shock, but about the future. What did I actually want from this new life? I remembered enough about DxD to see the possibilities. Events, key characters, factions, politics, most of it was still in my head. With that knowledge, I could become almost anything. I could build one of the strongest peerages in the underworld and dominate the raiding games. I could play diplomat, fixer, or political wildcard. If I wanted to be a cliché, I could even steal Issei's spot and go full harem king. But what did I want? The truth was, I didn't want anything to do with the plot. I already had everything necessary for a comfortable life. Wealth? Covered. Status? As a main branch Gremory, I was practically drowning in it. Power? Maybe. I didn't know how strong I'd grow, but if Rias and Surzex were anything to go by, the genetics weren't bad. So I kept my goals simple. I wanted to grow up, find a wife, start a small business so the family wouldn't call me a leech, and then enjoy life. Peacefully, quietly. That was the plan, and I should have known it wouldn't survive contact with reality. The first problem? Devil genetics apparently hated me. When I turned 6, we discovered I had neither the Bale clan's power of destruction nor the Gremory family's signature luck. That alone disqualified me from ever becoming heir. Honestly, I wasn't bothered. I didn't want to fight anybody, and the heir's job looked miserable. Mountains of paperwork, endless meetings with self-important devils, political games in every direction. No, thank you. Let Rias or Millicast deal with that nightmare. But the rest of the family didn't take it so lightly. My father practically stopped acknowledging me the moment the test came back. My older brother went from sympathetic to indifferent and eventually stopped speaking to me at all unless forced. And his wife, his maid, his queen, whatever title she felt like flaunting that day, she made sure to cut off every attempt I made to talk to him. Her eyes always held the same message: you don't belong here. It was a harsh reality check. Sure, I didn't have the clan's signature magic, but my demonic power was still impressive for my age. I never understood why that wasn't enough. When I finally asked my mother, Venelana, she didn't sugarcoat it. She told me plainly that a noble child who couldn't inherit the family magic was considered a stain on the bloodline. People would whisper that the mother cheated, mixing inferior blood into a great house. The only reason she avoided suspicion was because Rias, my twin, did inherit the power of destruction. That cleared her, but it made me look even worse. Rias got both gifts. I got none. My mother still cared for me, probably. It was hard to tell. She was a master manipulator, and I was too young in the beginning to hide that I saw things I wasn't supposed to see. My father danced to her tune without even noticing. It was terrifying. The worst part, though, was Rias. We started off close. Twins usually do. But as the servants began treating her like a princess and me like a spare part, things changed. She learned she mattered more. At first, it was small things, less time with me, more attitude. But over the years, the warmth faded. Pride took root. And I learned that pride really is a devil's sin. In the beginning, everyone thought I was a genius. I didn't hide the fact that I understood lessons quickly. I only wanted access to more books. After all, I already had an education from my past life. Repeating basic lessons was torture. But once I realized how fast I could learn, as a devil, as a child, as a reincarnator, whatever the reason, I leaned into it. Hard. I studied everything. Science, literature, history. But above all else, magic and crafting. I was average at magic, or so people claimed. Crafting was where I shined. Inspiration came naturally. I painted, sculpted, composed music, tinkered with materials. Art felt right. Creating felt right. Magic was the same. Even if I wasn't talented, it didn't matter. It was magic. Why wouldn't I want to learn it? But that was when I realized something fundamental about devils. Hard work means nothing. Talent is everything. And in their eyes, I didn't have any that mattered.
Hey everyone, welcome to FanFic Canon. Thanks for hitting play. I'm thrilled to bring this fan-made story to life for you. If you enjoy the ride and want more narrated fanfics, smash, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you want audiobook of a novel of your choice, join my Patreon. Request any title that's freely available online, and I'll produce a full narration just for you. Now, let's dive into today's adventure.
The Devil Society as a whole is full of sins. They live with the knowledge that they are sinful, but they simply don't care. This is why internal affair is a real problem. When you need to force lazy devil to work or prideful devil to obey others. There's just so many issues that I don't understand how this society still works, albeit barely. I mean, there's a lot of internal factions, all working for their own benefit only. Then there's the old Satan's faction that want to spark another civil war, and some warmonger that want to restart the Great War. Yeah, it's a miracle we're not destroyed. But despise that, they don't work to change things. I realize that every devil is majorly inclined to a single sin. There can be more, of course, but every single devil has what they call a major sin. Mine? I still don't really know. I guess sloth, but really I'm not too sure. My mother told me it was pride, but if it is, I never really realized it. And she confirmed I was lucky to be barely affected. But anyway, the thing is that whatever your major sin, devil tend to revel in sins in general. And it shaped this society. Sloth make devil tend to wait for things to happen. Greed and envy make them jealous of what others tend to gain, and pride make them refuse to accept it is their own fault. The result? Talent is everything. If you don't have a natural talent in something, the general consensus is to simply do the minimum to be considered adequate and move on, which is a bit sad considering we have a massive lifespan and nothing much to do. So I was weird. I didn't have talent in magic, and yet I kept learning. And that was not only for magic, but every field I try to learn. I realized that there was a real social gap here when they didn't really understand why I liked to learn about everything. But their concern was forgotten as swiftly as the discovery of my absence of family power. From then on, they didn't really care what I did. As long as I didn't really bother them, they were happy to stay away too. Not for Rias' thought. The problem with Rias is that I realized that she had felt inferior to me. When your parent keep telling you that you must be more like your brother, well, it does help stack up resentment. Sure, we were 6 years old, but her sin was pride, and damn that sin. So from that moment, she started harassing me. It was little things really. Verbal jabs, little reminder of her advancement in mastering her power, taunting me with her new peerage members, things like these. But after a few years, she simply started loathing me. The attitude of my family certainly didn't help when they let her do whatever she wished. I'm pretty sure that Grafia even encouraged her a bit, until she realized that I was just inconsequential for the truly important people. She then simply stopped caring. I think I was around 11 years old when that happened. The thing is, I have a talent. An incredible talent, I dare say. I'm not sure how, but when I want to create something, I just know how. It's weird really, but I can create almost anything. Well, as long as I have the material, the right environment, the right tools, the eventual right circumstance. But you get the idea. If I want it, I know how to do it. And while I hadn't really realized what my talent was at first, I thought I was just a gifted artist. When I did, my family had already abandoned me. So I did the best thing for me. I hid it. I could have shared my talent with my family and be groomed to become the next Ajuka Belzebuth. But really, why would I? That sounded problematic, if anything, from I'd heard from a few conversations between Ajuka and my brother. So I decided to do the next best thing at the moment. I just decided to show myself as a great artist. While it wouldn't help me gain respect amongst the powerful devils, it would at least greatly mitigate my status as a trash. Furthermore, I wasn't restricting myself to the devil society. I mean, even if I wasn't important here, could I be elsewhere? So I hid my real talent and decided to show a very watered-down version to the world. But I took my time. I wasn't in a rush, so I simply decided to keep learning things, and most of all, I wanted to roam the world. I felt I needed the inspiration. At the age of 8, I was already considered mature enough to wander a bit, and frankly, no one really cared much if something happened to me. I was asked if I wanted an escort, but after seeing the look I was given by said escort, I decided it was better to travel alone. But before that, I decided to create my very first magical trinket. It wasn't anything fancy, but using my magical knowledge and some ghost essence, easy to acquire at the open market, I was able to create a ring of aura concealment. A simple ring that would make my aura similar to a regular human. I would have to conceal my magic power myself, but that was relatively easy. The reason I didn't want to conceal my magic power with an artifact was if I was in need to use my magic and someone of the supernatural world didn't sense it. Well, it would ring alarm bells, and, depending on the place, could be potentially dangerous. After all, no one likes spies. So at the age of 8, I started my year-long travel. When I started my travel, I wasn't expecting problems. But at the same time, this is the world of DxD, so I wasn't so naive as to think nothing would happen at all. So I stick to crowded area. I traveled to various known archaeological sites, museums, theater. I saw and listened to incredible pieces of music, performance, and so many more. It was incredible. But after 3 months, I also realized how a pain it was to travel non-stop without help. So I decided it was time for me to find an aide, more specifically, a maid. And if I was to get a maid, I would get the best in the world. Ever. But let's be honest, if a perfect maid existed, someone would have already snatched it. So I needed to make my perfect made to suit my tastes and my needs. I didn't want a machine or a golem. These tend to be limited when faced with the unexpected. And frankly, with the world I live in, the unexpected happens every Friday, and some more. If I choose another race from the supernatural world, it would be a political annoyance because I had yet to receive my devil pieces and could not reincarnate them into a devil. I was supposed to receive them when I turned 6, but for some reason, it was delayed. Not that I cared that much in the end. As for recruiting a devil, no thank you. Aside from the fact that they would end by spying on me for one or more people, their sin would make them a pain. So I decided to take a human maid. After all, I was a devil, and I could certainly found someone out there desperate for something I could provide in exchange for a life of servitude. I then had a few problems. A, found a desperate individual with a great work ethic and willpower, if possible female. B, find a way to gain the individual undying loyalty. C, find a way FO upgrade said individual to become awesome and sexy. After all, why not? So I took a little pause in my trip and decided to craft a few things. The first thing was a compass that would guide me to what I was seeking. It was much more complicated than I expected. My problem was that I needed to add a piece of divinity inside my creation so that the item could be linked to the world. Let's just say it was hard to find a piece of divinity in the market. The second thing was to create an object to give or transfer things from a conceptual or ideological level to someone. For example, I wanted to be able to give talent to be a maid to my chosen future maid, or maid work experience, these kind of things. And finally, a protection of some sort. If I had to create the perfect maid slash secretary slash whatever else I want, she'd better stay alive. I would hate to go back home for her to be killed out of spite by Graphia when she realized my maid is better than her. And that wouldn't be difficult seeing she can't stop poking her nose and stuff a maid should not be bothered with. For the compass, I got an idea. I could just take the divinity left inside a sacred gear by the big guy. It should work quite well since his divinity was one of the most powerful one. The problem? It would most likely destroy the sacred gear and make some angel panic. Did I care if a sacred gear disappeared? Not really. It wouldn't kill the individual attached. It would even get rid of the pressure the sacred gear exerted on that guy's soul. So I was good with it. And the angels? Fuck them. I was a devil in the end, and I really hated the church. I now had a new problem. Find a shitty sacred gear that would not impact the plot if destroyed. No way I was going to go and destroy the boosted gear. I was expecting that stupid excuse of a human being to save my new reality. So no tinkering the protagonist and possibly stepbrother. But I could create a sacred gear detector. That was actually easy. I just needed to adjust the wavelength by using someone with a sacred gear as a reference. I even decided to put 2 levels of detection, awakened and dormant. For the awakened one, I just had to go to the underworld and pass next to a devil with a sacred gear. Basically, I just had to go in town. And for dormant? Well, I guess I'll see Issei in a bit. To say that Kuo Town is underwhelming would be an understatement. I don't get why Rias wanted to come here. As a matter of fact, I don't get why Cleria Belial was even ruling this place. This town is completely bland. In the end, it was pretty easy to find Issei. I just looked the address of the Hayata household. I remember meeting him the first time. A normal kid, really. He wasn't corrupted by the Apei grandpa when I met him, so he was even more normal. Just a kid amongst other. In the end, I watched him a bit while he played in the park, just the time for my detector to adjust the wavelength, and went my way. After all, I would meet him in the future. No need to introduce myself now. A quick teleportation and a day in the Devil Capital, and I had adjusted my detector to found awakened sacred gear. I also used the time to buy supplies for my projects, as well as paint. After all, I was really starting to like painting. It took me a few weeks, but I found what I wanted. It was harder than I expected. Honestly, by reading the novel, I was expecting sacred gear to pop left and right, but it appeared that sacred gear are rare, really rare. And while my detector worked wonderfully, the range was a few hundred kilometers. So I continued my travel in dense area with the end goal of making my travel more comfortable. I ended up finding an office worker in Hong Kong with a twice critical. Perfect for my needs. I just followed the guy in his house, a little hypnotism, and tada, I had my piece of divinity. Let's just say I did not stay long. Aside the fact that China was a place you did not want to make trouble, I knew the angels would freak out. So China was the best place to go. After all, no way a seraph would travel here directly on the off chance of occurring some very dangerous god wrath. So after a little bit of magical interference magic, I ended extracting the piece of divinity. I simply sealed it in a heavily runed box and went my way without using a single piece of movement magic, and especially not teleportation magic. After all, I didn't want someone to track me. Once I was outside Hong Kong, I teleported several times using various magic signature in every big city. Once I was pretty sure I had covered my track, I ended up creating my compass. It wasn't that hard to create once I had the ingredients. Weirdly thought, aside from an actual compass, I needed some whale bones, sea salt, a world map, and something that represented a treasure. I ended up buying a doubloon. I thought it went well with the theme. And consistency was important when creating artifact. So in the end, I decided to create my compass at Tortuga de Mar, also known as Tortuga, a significant historical island during the piracy era. And so I went at work. It was incredibly exhausting. Working with a piece of the divine to create my third trinket was really not how I was expecting my inspiration holiday to go by. And I really thought it would fail at some point. But in the end, I did it. My compass is a beautifully sculpted ivory box with a Gremory crest layered with gold on top of it. When opened, you could see a piece of map at the bottom, moving with you as you walk, and in the middle a white needle made of salt and gold. It was aesthetical pleasant, and I can say I was very happy with the result. And since it was my very first real treasure, I decided to name it. After all, every tool of legend has a name, so although my compass needed one. So I named it Heart Seeker, for he will always show me the way to what my heart seeks. My beautiful little piece of awesomeness. And God, ouch, Satan will it useful. In the end, I decided I want to find a hard-working failure. I wanted to find the most hard-working woman ever, whatever her body, health, intelligence, or talent. I just wanted someone with the right mentality. The rest? I'll find a way. After all, it is easier to build a great building with sturdy foundation. So I want to find a woman who was doing her damn best, but was simply untalented. I have a theory about birth and human general attribute. It is my personal belief, after my readings in the subject in the Devil Great Library, that human all come with what I would call basic stats. And then, said stats pass, thought, a random generator that can add or take away some of them. But the greater some of your stat goes, the bigger some others get drained. So if someone has a completely unnatural stat, chance are they have a serious issue somewhere else. The problem? It's not necessarily visible. Could be luck, life expectancy, or something similar. So when I search for my hardworking lady, I wanted her to be what I call the life failure. This way I would at least be assured she didn't have conceptual problem, such as bad luck. And Lucifer be damned, I found my diamond. Or, at the time, my piece of charcoal. I met her while she was being summarily thrown outside a family shop by the owner a bit before nighttime. And he was not happy. Owner, and don't come back. I can't believe I thought you could do the job. You must be the most pathetic and clumsy human that ever existed. My piece of charcoal, please. I swear I'll work harder. I'll do the night shift. I'll do double the time you pay me for. I beg you, I can do better. Owner, enough. Out. And then I saw her. She was ugly, that's for sure. She was fat, wearing rags that could barely called clothes with an apron that the owner didn't bother taking back. She had greasy black hair tied in a ponytail, not hiding the impressive number of pimple on her face. A crooked nose, and some crooked teeth surrounded by heavily damaged lips. At least her eyes were somewhat pretty, a nice shade of green, but the mix of despair and determination in those eyes. That's the thing I focused on. Alexander, hello miss, my name is Alexander. I told her, and then I started to grin. I just knew she would be mine, and that she would be glorious, and I believe I have a deal for you. My piece of charcoal. Hello, little kid. Are you alone? Where are your parents? She asked me as if I was some lost child. I admit that the fact I looked like an 8-year-old did not help in being taken seriously. Alexander, I'm alone, yes. As for my parents? Home, I guess. But may I know your name, my lady? I asked politely. My piece of charcoal. I'm called Selena. Now, are you lost or do you live nearby? She asked me, starting to look worried and a bit taken aback by my manners, it seems. I don't think lots of people called her a lady. It would change. Alexander, it seemed this discussion will lead to nowhere if you keep thinking I'm some random kid. All right, let's do it like this. And then I took her with me in the nearest alley. Selena, wait, little kid, we can't go there. There's. And she was cut off abruptly as I started to materialize the Gremory crest to aid for my teleportation spell. Usually, it would need her to be a demon, or at least to have some magical power to be able to teleport. But that's the devil's standard version. And crafting an existing magical circle to take someone without magical power was relatively easy. What the? Kaya. And thus, we teleported to my workshop. Well, I call it my workshop, but it was more of an abandoned warehouse that crossed my road during one of my trips. I warded it against normal human and against dirt. Some would say it's stealing a property. I would say you were right. But did I care? Once again, not really. Such warehouse exists everywhere on the globe, and since no one used them, Might as well do something with it. I did furnish it a bit. A table with a few chairs, a bed, and a workplace with some tools. Nothing much really, but I thought it would be nice to have a little place to fall back during my travels. I did ward it a bit, but anyone who really wanted to find me could do so easily. After all, it was just a random abandoned warehouse. Not my future house or secret base. I was not going to waste my average allowance to ward this place to make it a magical fortress. Component cost a lot. Selena, what happened? Where are we? What was that? Who are you? She was clearly starting to panic and to fear me a bit. Good. That helped in the end. Alexander. In order, I teleported us. We are in my temporary war shop in Spain. The magic circle was a crest used to help in the casting of spells. And once again, my name is Alexander. I will give you my full name if you decide to work for me. At the mention of possible work, the confusion and panic receded a bit to be replaced with hope. That is when I realized she was really desperate. Selena, so Spain? We're really not in Mexico anymore. You're a wizard? Like Harry Potter? She asked me tentatively. I would be a muggle, so I don't think I can do much, but I'll do my best. I'm extremely hardworking. Alexander, no, I'm not a wizard. I couldn't help but chuckle at that, and I honestly wouldn't give you anything to do. From what I can guess, you'd destroy anything I'd give you to do. The way she flinched at my remark did not escape my sight and confirmed my suspicion. No, I want you to work as my personal maid, secretary, and whatever else I would want you to be. But not now. It is my personal belief that at the moment, you would be more of a problem than a helper. I just want to secure your services for the future. Do you have questions about what I said for the moment? Selena, a lot, but the most important is this one. Since you believe I'm useless, why offer me the job? Alexander, because only your personality matters to me. The rest I couldn't care less. I want someone extremely hardworking with a great work ethic. Someone who will do its utmost to do his tasks and go beyond if he can. Someone who wouldn't betray his boss for some benefits. And this, my lady, is why I want you. I did come from very far, just for you after all. Selena, want me? You search for me? She asked me, clearly shocked that anyone would want her. From what I could see, she was already having problems making managers keep her, so having someone looking specifically for her must have been weird. Why? Alexander, well, I did tell you to deny. I'm interested in your work ethic. The rest is irrelevant. We'll upgrade you with time. I already know how. Do you have anything against taking other people's things? Selena, you mean stealing? Yeah, that was a bit of a change of topic, but Alexander, no. I mean taking what doesn't belong to you. Selena, could you elaborate a bit? I do steal some food sometime, but it's because I really don't have the choice. I was a bit surprised that she admitted that, to be honest. But I imagine that it's not so rare in the outer rim of Mexico. Alexander, I'm talking about ripping someone's health and taking it for yourself. Plundering their talents, experience, someone's beauty, or intelligence. Whatever you want, I can give it to you. All I'm asking for is your sworn obedience, and most importantly, I want to be able to trust you. As I was talking, I just could not stop myself from making my eyes go red. I was having such a kick. Selena, what are you? She asked me, starting to feel fear, despite the hope previously showing in her emotions. Alexander, I'm a devil, my dear Selena. Now tell me, do we have a deal? And make a deal we did. Basically, she sold herself to me in exchange for whatever I would give her. I can't believe how dumb she was to choose that wording. She was lucky. I genuinely wanted to help. But still, I made sure that she understood that the deal was really unfair in case I decided I didn't want to give her anything. Her response, but then I would be useless to you, right? Right, but still. In the end, I explained to Selena the situation about the supernatural in general, and more specifically about heaven, the Gremory faction, and the underworld. It took some time, but it was a necessity. During my explanation, we did learn a bit about one another. In the end, I understood her problem. She was really clumsy and an airhead. And that isn't without taking into account that she was bad at everything she did. She tried, really. She told me about the hours she undertook to get better at various things, but she just wasn't good enough. That and the fact that she was ugly and an orphan didn't really help her find a friend in life. She was 15, and from what she knew, Her parents were killed on the road during a cartel fight when she was 2. She did not really remember them. As for why the work fixation, the orphanage she lived in closed last year, and the orphans were simply let go. So, basically to survive. In the end, it was a bit therapeutic for her, I think, to open up to me like that about her life, knowing things would change. She was a bit weirded out by the fact I was so mature while I was only 8, but she just decided it was a devil thing. Since she told me a lot about her, I told her about my life. How my father viewed the family power above all else. And about the attitude of the rest of my family toward me. Honestly, it was nice to see her getting riled up for me, while I honestly wasn't that much bothered. As time passed, we talked a lot, and ended up sleeping in the workshop after DxD. Cough scavenged another bed. The next day, I decided to get to know Selena a bit more. So, no travel, just talking. It was nice, and I told her about my reason for wanting a maid. She was a bit speechless that the entire reason for her life changing so drastically was because I was too lazy to organize my travels anymore. But like she told me afterward, I work for you now, so wherever you want is wherever I'll go, and whatever you want is whatever I'll do. Now, all I needed was to implement my plan. For that, I intended to use magical contract to trade service for whatever I needed from various individuals. If possible, desperate individuals. Always easier to make deal with these guys. The problem? Demonic magic wasn't enough. You need to understand that my crafting intuition was not omnipotent. It was incredibly great, but not godly. My problem? I needed to understand the basic. To give an example, if you asked me to create a wood table, no problem, I learned how to work wood. But if you asked me to create an adamantium table, no fucking idea how. The reason is simple. I don't know how to work adamantium. Sure, my gift will give me the insight that I need to learn that, but if I don't know where, endgame. This is why I had no problem with my heart seeker. My devil magic study was enough. My compass is based on greed and conceptual magic, so I had the basics done. For the contract I had in mind, I needed runes magic. Well, that and a special type of paper and ink, but that hardly mattered at this point. I couldn't use the standard devil contract. These things could only rip souls, and the souls were damaged afterward. The new one that only take a bit of power are a watered-down version of ripping souls, only taking a little bit. In the end, if you require a devil help too many times, you'll lose your soul all the same. Worse, at some point you'll start feeling empty, making you more susceptible to others' decisions. Well, you do need to summon the devil a great number of times, but still, it's not something the devils tend to broadcast. Anyway, the problem is that runes magic is Asgardian magic, and that put a stop to my plan. From what I knew, Asgard tended to keep that knowledge to themselves. Sure, during the century of Asgard existence, the secret of runes craft did get transmitted to individuals in other factions with the okay from Odin, but it stayed something pretty guarded, and said individuals did not broadcast the knowledge themselves. After all, no one wanted an entire angry pantheon going for your head. So I had 3 choices. 1. Go to Asgard and ask nicely to be taught rune crafting. 2. Go to Asgard and steal nicely the rune crafting knowledge under the Norse pantheon. 3. Find someone with said knowledge and steal/blackmail/coerce/by/ask it from him. Option 2, while possible, seemed dangerous for the future. I mean, secret always get out. And while I'm sure the trickster god would find it funny, he would not defend me against the rest of the Asgardians. And I really don't want any faction against me. Option 3 was a good one, honestly, in terms of risk/gain, but once again, secrets never stay secret. And while I could argue and say the guy shared the knowledge only with me, it would strain my relation with the Norse. Worse, it would have been biased knowledge. I have no doubt these individuals only have a watered-down version. So option 1 it was. But at that point I realized one thing. What on earth does Odin the All-Father, the king of Asgard, the leader of the Norse pantheon, one of the most influential and connected god in the world, could need? Worse, I would have to have that. And my answer was immediate. I had no fucking clue. The first thing I needed was information about my target. After all, someone like Odin must have been spied on by every faction and beyond. It wasn't actually that difficult to find some information about the king. A quick stop at the Gremory library and I was good. Apparently the man was a pervert. A massive pervert. I thought it was weird since I recalled that Odin was supposed to be married to Frigga. But in the world of DxD, his wife was killed. And wasn't that a surprise? After all, my knowledge of this world is centered around the event of Kuo, and again, even my memory was spotty at best. From information I gathered, Frigga was killed by an unknown party, and her body was left cold and bleeding on the ground of a small Norwegian village. Backstabbed by a sharp blade, or a knife from was discovered. I also discovered that Odin was still looking for any clue on the crime, and had kept his wife's body in some kind of crystallized sarcophagus in hope of resurrecting her one day. The reason he believed it possible was because gods don't really die in this world. They kind of get deactivated, but their divine essence stay inside the body. As long as someone still worshiped the Norse pantheon and know of Frigga, the wife of Odin, her divinity will keep existing. It's just that now she was, for lack of a better term, in a deathly coma. It happened in some mythologies, like how Osiris, despite being cut in numerous pieces, was brought back to life. And while he didn't know how to do it, it certainly didn't stop him from trying. See, then I fought. Why not help him with that? I knew I didn't have the material, nor the knowledge to resurrect a god. It was just too complicated, without even taking the fact that I would need to inject some divine power into whatever I would create to do the deed. No, I thought of something much more simple. What if I gave him the possibility to talk to his wife? With God, the concept of soul was very spotty. They existed as living being, but at the same time, there was some king of concept, an amalgam of ideas taking form by their worshippers. So no problem finding her soul. Some blood would do the trick. Hopefully. No, the problem was to create a way for him to communicate with her without Frigga hating me for putting her consciousness into something demeaning. I mean, I don't think she would be happy to be brought back in a doll or some king of artifact just for the pleasure of her husband. No, I needed something that would make her happy, or at least not too angry, but at the same time, something I could do without too many complications. The answer actually came from Selena. While discussing my dilemma with her, more to rebound idea than anything, she asked me something simple. Selena, you could bring her back as a magical painting from Harry Potter. She would have a nice environment, and if she's put in the main hall, she would be able to talk to other right. And wasn't that a good idea? I just needed to find a way to paint her. But for the magical painting to work, I needed a living model. The way around that wasn't actually that difficult. I found a video, or more exactly, a memory archive in the library pertaining to a diplomatic event between the Asgardians and the underworld. It was a suitable support, as while looking at the memory, she was alive. A bit borderline with what I needed, but with a drop of her blood in the painting, it should do the trick. After all, she was a god, and God could do some weird stuff. So I decided to paint a nice clearing with a forest on the far east and a Viking hall in the background. This way, she should have a place to go in her painting if she was bored. The whole thing was based on intent, so if I thought hard enough of the inside of the hall while painting it, it should be usable. I also imagined the forest with some game inside, if she intended to hunt. Not too sure if that was a thing for her, but I do remember she was the leader of the Valkyries, so she was a fighter at least. I easily depicted a few boars at the forest edge. With that being done, I just needed to paint the woman. You need to understand that it was much more than just painting. It was more akin to capturing her personality, expression, movement, and giving it life on the canvas. It was really hard depending only on the memory, but I really did my best. And once again, I was really betting on her blood to end the process. And even if it didn't work, at least Odin would have a beautiful painting of his deceased wife. And when I say beautiful, I mean it. The model did help. After all, she was gorgeous, but the end result was just awesome. She was depicted sitting in a chair, with her hair floating lightly in the breeze while she was just relaxing. Thinking back about it, it was a godly gift. After all, I was going to offer a god snicker. Now all I needed was to get an audience. And what better way to get the pervert attention than by giving him an eyeglass that could see through clothes? I just made sure to put a failsafe on it. After all, I didn't want him to be able to scan my potential future wife, as well as my maid. So anyone with the Gremory symbol on their clothes would be protected. After all, I may have had a bad relationship with my family, but but I didn't want Odin to leer on them. Once the eyeglass, finished, I simply sealed it with the instructions as well as a letter in a special package used for interreligion delivery. The letter was basically stating that I hoped to be granted an audience with the king of Asgard in order to present what I hoped would be a great opportunity for him. I mentioned that if everything went well, it might lead to some information regarding the attack on his wife. I also stated that I was a devil acting as an individual and was not representing a group, family, or faction. No need to tip off a certain magical girl so that the goodwill I would eventually gain be associated to the new Satan faction, or worse, my father. The only problem in my endeavor was when Selena asked me what was I offering to the king of God. She was nonplussed by my idea and clearly not approving of my creation. Happily for me, despite being useless at everything she tried to do, she was really taking her role as my maid at heart, and thus did not insist. She simply gave her opinion while looking at me extremely disapprovingly for a few minutes, which made me happy. That was exactly the kind of attitude I expected from her, to give me ideas or opinions if she had some, and then let me choose whether I decide to ignore or act on them. Furthermore, the moment I told her I was happy with her attitude, she blushed, stood straighter, and showed me a very big, ugly smile. A happy one, sure, but still, I really needed to do something. My maid just had to be a great eye candy after all. It was almost in the job description. Anyway, one thing was for sure, for her to react that much to a simple compliment, it proved to me that she really needed some positive reinforcement, which I would be glad to provide during the following years. In the end, I did get a summon for Asgard after a few days. The letter being sent by a very creepy raven. The thing was just staying there, looming on me like I owned him or something. The funny thing was when Selena went to give him some water and food. She tripped, hit him in the face with some bacon, and then drenched him with the water in the bowl. No need to say, he looked offended and went away. Good job, Selena. Not that I was going to admit feeling much better with his departure. I was a devil for Satan's sake. I did have a modicum of pride, and I admit I liked the feeling of worship I saw on Selena's face each time she saw me do impressive feats, so no way I was going to ruin my image by admitting that ravens creep me out. The first time I set foot on the domain of Asgard was an experience. The air was charged with a feeling of ancient power and fatalism, as if everything was already decided and was moving to a single point in time. It was kind of oppressive and depressive, to be honest. Being there always makes me wonder if we truly control our destiny, or if our free will is just an illusion of choices determined by events surrounding our life, all of it organized by a greater being. I realized at that moment that it had been a good idea to let Selena at the workshop. There wasn't only this to Asgard, though. There was life. Lots of it. The air sang of battle, feasts, and legends. It was making me more emboldened. The clash of both feeling needed a bit of time to adjust to, but my guide, a Valkyrie named Brugga, told me it was normal to feel a bit impacted if it was my first time visiting a religion site of power. Apparently, I would have felt something similar if I had decided to go to Olympus, heaven, not that I would dare put my foot there, or any other mythological site. It took us a few minutes to go from the teleportation entry point of Asgard to the Celestial Hall, where was situated Odin's throne. It allowed me to adapt to the atmosphere and calm myself for what was to come. The throne room was exactly as I saw it in one of the available memory I found in the Gremory compound. Big, almost empty, and ostentatiously golden. But the more eye-catching element was easily the All-Father sitting on his throne with a very, very oppressive spear in hand, and some creepy raven on his big golden throne. I was honestly expecting the jovial and perverted god I saw in the anime, but I was taken aback by the seriousness of the situation. It was almost looking as if I was going on trial with all the soldiers standing in the hall and the Brugga still standing next to me. Yeah, not what I was expecting. I guess he's more friendly with faction leaders or protagonists. Whether said protagonist is an idiot did not seem to count. The fact that I alluded that I had some information about his wife murderer might have done that too. So I took a breath, made a respectful bow, and started to talk. Alexander, All-Father, King of Asgard, it is a pleasure and an honor to meet you, and I thank you for taking the time to grant me an audience. Odin, raise you head Alexander Gremory. As for granting you an audience, how could I not after reading your claim that you have some information I have been seeking for the last 300 years? I'll admit your gift intrigued me enough to decide to take your letter seriously. The fact you are only 8 years old made the matter all the more intriguing. Alexander, I'm 9 since last week, Your Majesty, and do not misunderstand, I don't have any information myself. The moment I said that I could clearly feel his mood souring, so I hastened my reply. I was very specific when I said that if thing went well, you'll have said information, but not from me. I simply wouldn't even know where to look for. After all, if you couldn't find anything with the resources at your disposal, how could I? Like you said, I'm just a kid. Odin, are you blackmailing me, kid? I have to say, even for a devil, you've got some balls. The moment he said that I could feel all the soldier and Brugga tensing. And wasn't that scary? Alexander, what? No. When I said if all goes well, I mean literally. I need your help to finalize something. If it works as it should, it would give you the information you want. I hope. I really don't want to force you to do anything. I may be a devil, but I'm not a greedy idiot. Sensing everyone calming, I continued my little speech. Alexander, first of all, before I continue, can you swear not to kill or maim me before listening to the end of my speech? I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of way for what I have to ask of you to end badly for me, without the proper explanation or context. It seems that it wasn't really the thing to say seeing everyone's attitude tensing again. But really, the moment I need to ask for his wife's blood, I don't want to be disintegrated on the spot without him understanding everything. Odin, since I only need to wait until the end of your explanation to smite you if needed, I accept. After all, if what you say is true, I do want to understand it. I, Odin Allfather, swear on my name that no harm shall come from me or my subject until the end of your explanation unless you decide to take action against me or mine. I admitted I did not think the guard would do something in presence of the king, but I later realized he could have asked them to. Not that it was important, really. After all, like he said, it was just waiting until the end of speech. Alexander, thank you for the show of trust. The reason for the oath is because for my endeavor to get finalized, I will need a fresh drop of blood from your wife's corpse, and I didn't know how you would take that request. No need to say, not well. The look he was giving me clearly comforted me in my idea that the oath was not merely a precaution. Alexander, before accusing me of anything, I would like to show you something that is in my workshop. Do you authorize me to cast a teleportation spell in the sole purpose of fetching an item of my possession? Odin, do it, and your explanation better be good. I know very well what can a devil or a magician do with blood, and your request is taken as a clear aggression against Asgard. Yep, clearly a good idea to have asked for that oath. After a quick variation of the teleportation spell, and the life-sized painting of Frigga was there for all to see on a golden easel, I did anticipate the golden touch of Asgard. And I could see that the reception for my work was extremely positive by the look of shock and wonder I could gleam on the various soldiers. And Odin even showed a little smile. Alexander, Your Majesty, this is a life-sized painting of Queen Frigga, done to the best of my abilities, based on the viewing of a memory of the Madrid Conference of 1663 between the devils and the Norse pantheon. Odin, a marvelous painting, she looked almost alive. I swear that despite your disgusting demand, even if you are executed today, your painting will be hanged for all to see, and a boon will be given to the Gremory family as a payment. This masterpiece deserved that much respect. Alexander, there is no need for payment, Allfather, and certainly not to my family. I remember my comment at that time did make him raise an eyebrow, but he didn't comment. I do thank you for your praise, though. It is always welcome for an artist to see his work being appreciated. But there is more to this painting that meets the eye. I told you I needed blood from your wife. Well, this painting is the reason. And at that statement, I could see everyone now looking wearily at my piece of art. Using a process I will keep private, I imprinted, for a lack of a better word, your wife's personality from a single event of her life in this painting. I could activate this magical painting, and she would then be able to move and talk with everyone present her like any living being could. But she wouldn't be your Frigga. She would be my perception of what your wife should be, based on the event of Madrid in 1663 that I was made aware of. But if I bind the painting with a drop of fresh blood from her body, she will become the true Frigga, queen of Asgard and goddess of love, motherhood, and marriage at the moment of the bonding. A true resurrection, but as a painting, it would mean she should remember what happened to her when she was assassinated. She would have needed to be aware of something, though. If it was an invisible strike and she died with no clue, it won't help at all. But at least you would be able to talk to her again. And again, do not be mistaken. It will be her and not a construct. Her divine blood would assure of it. To say that my audience was speechless was a true understatement. I could also clearly see the disbelief in the eye of Odin. Odin, how can you prove to me what you said? Alexander, I can't. But it doesn't really matter. All you need to verify my claim is to take the painting, put a drop of blood on the canvas, and activate the painting by saying the special sentence on this paper, I said, showing a folded paper in my hand. Don't say it until the blood has been absorbed completely. I'm not sure how long it would take. I estimate a minute or two, but divine components are always a bit wonky to work with. So drop the blood on a cloud in the painting and wait until the red disappear completely. She would then wake up, possibly screaming, since for her no more than a second would have passed since her death. Then just ask her stuff only she would know. So what do you say? Want to give it a try? I told him, forwarding my piece of paper. It took him a few minutes of total silence to take a decision. And it was extremely stressing to wait there, in the middle of a giant golden hall with a lot of armed, trained, dangerous soldiers eyeing you, as if you might become the worst criminal ever any moment now. Not talking about the deadly Valkyrie less than 3 foot away, with her eyes completely focused on me, and the creeps. Mustn't forget the shitty ravens. Stressful minutes indeed. In the end, he took my offer. Let's just say I felt much better after he decided to give me a chance. 2 guards carried the painting following Odin to somewhere. I guess Frigga's room, or some kind of crypt. Never asked the detail. As for me, I stayed there alone, in the middle of the fucking hall. Well, when I say alone, I mean surrounded by soldiers, still as dangerous as in the last few minutes. But this time without their king, to keep their leash if needed. I was still being creepingly stared at by Brugga, and I was still in the presence of 2 annoying, spooky ravens perched on the now empty throne. Neither realized that time could be influenced that much just by your surrounding. I swear time slowed. The fact that they just stood there looking at me, without moving and talking, shiver. Anyway, after some disturbingly long minutes, or hours, I wasn't really sure. Asgard shivered. Like the air became tense. And then came the wind, the storm, and the earthquake. I admit I started to panic because that was not supposed to happen at all. The worst I was expecting was a little light show. Not that. And everyone's attitude toward me got a bit more negative. The fact that I suddenly had a very well-crafted rune bladeway to close to my head for my comfort was a big clue. Brugga's strong hand around my neck keeping me in place was the other. The fact that every soldier suddenly had their weapon out and were being extremely vigilant did not really warrant my attention at this point. I mean, who cares about some petty, deadly Valhalla soldiers wanting your head when the deadly Valkyrie close to you literally has your head around her hand? Well, not me. Things got better for me when Odin's voice was heard saying, Odin, Eloket, you filthy, traitorous scum, come to meet my spear and your death. Alexander, as you can hear, it's not my fault. Can I ask you to take your nice blade away from me, my fair lady? I admit it makes me a bit nervous. Brugga, sorry, it seems that my action was unwarranted. Alexander, no problem, no problem. I admit it scarred me a bit too. While for me things are getting better, for the rest of Asgard, and specifically Loki, the shitstorm just started. From what we could hear from the very angry and out of control All-Father screaming and shouting through the entire realm of Asgard, it appeared that Loki was the instigator. He also had help from Hades, the Greek god of death. The trickster god gloated by revealing his master plan while she was dying. Who would have guessed? Turns out a Valkyrie was involved. She was tricked to summon Frigga for some help, just to be betrayed by Loki. Turns out her death might not have been as accidental as it seemed. I also heard him saying he was going to declare war to the Greek pantheon and torture and butcher every Greek god, but meh, not my problem. And the wait became much nicer. The soldiers started to run around like headless chicken looking for Loki, and the raven finally pissed off. Brugga stayed there, though. What a dedicated woman. Loki was now being summoned for questioning. And anyone with some brain cells could have guessed it, but he fled. Turns out killing your godly king's wife is not a good idea if you want to live a peaceful and fulfilling life in his realm. He did come back to his throne room to give orders he had already shouted. Things like seal the realm, give me Loki, and if possibly extremely injured, call every gods for a war meeting. The most interesting thing were the two guards carrying the living painting of Frigga inside the hall, and she was moving and looking around. I was happy it worked well. I just couldn't help myself and went in her direction. Brugga seemed to want to say something, but eventually just followed. She did seem to intrigue herself. As for Odin, I don't think he even remembered I existed. He was way too busy being angry. And Satan, wasn't he terrifying? Better get next to the homely goddess of marriage that could potentially reign him in case of problem. Alexander, greeting Lady Frigga, Queen of Asgard. It is an honor to meet you. Frigga, and who might you be, little kid? Alexander, my name is Alexander Gremory, from the main branch of the Gremory family, one of the 72 pillars of the underworld. Also the artist that painted your current surrounding. I hope it is to your liking. After my brief introduction, I could see some surprise. She was clearly not expecting that. Frigga, I am satisfied for the moment. This entire situation is new to me, as you can guess, so it is hard to tell what the future holds for me. If I am to pass the next few centuries here, at least there is a nice forest to visit and a cozy house. I just have this feeling I can go inside them, whether the house or the forest, but I will stop existing during my time inside. And at some point I will come back here naturally. Could you explain this to me? It is a bit unsettling. And of course I would like to thank you for bringing me back. It is a great boon you offered me and my husband, even if I will be restricted in the future. Alexander, I could hazard a guess, but nothing concrete. First of all, you need to understand what I really did. You're not resurrected stricto sensu. After all, you are now a painting. At that I could see her nod. I could also see that the guard nearby and Brugga seemed to be paying more attention to our conversation. Furthermore, you need to understand that what I did could have only worked for a god, because divinity allow for a lot of flexibility and also allow you to throw the middle finger to reality and rules. At that little information, I could see her smiling a little. At least she realized how bullshit divinity truly was. If it was a normal being, I would have needed several sessions of painting while talking with said individual. This way I could have captured the most of who he is. Then, if the painting is of good enough quality and said individual can see himself in it, he can infuse some of his being inside the painting via a harmless ritual. A bit like a memory copy, but much more complex since personality is also taken into account. But it would still be a painting. It would act, talk, and react like the original model, like a living being, but IT would know it is a painting. The individual inside, the painting will never be bored, because in the end, a painting exists for the purpose of being looked at, not evolving or changing like us. But for some reason, they still retain some need to move around, so they would move around, getting out of their painting to visit other similar painting, or simply going in the background if possible. Brugga, you're saying that if you make more painting like this one, my queen will be able to visit them? Alexander, yes and no. Like I said, what I described to you is the normal process. The one I invented when I wished to make a business of my talent for painting. I thought with this, it would become something unique that would gather attention, allowing me enough fame to live of my art. Frigga, I can assure you, young devil, that it will be a successful endeavor, especially considering your talent in the craft, she told me with a smile. Alexander, thank you. But like I was saying, these backgrounds and paintings are all linked. They constitute what I could oversimplify as a new world in a dimension overlapping ours, to which the gateways are my paintings. So theoretically, we could go inside or out of these paintings. I just have no idea how at all. This would require a greater magical knowledge than I have access to. And power too. Lots and lots of power. Brugga. So if one day you find a way, you could just paint a pile of treasure, food, and women and just take them back here. Alexander, while extremely oversimplified, yes. But again, you seem to forget that going through dimension has a cost. One of which is to bypass the Great Red. He is the dimensional guardian after all. So I'm not fighting a dragon god for food, treasure, and fair maiden. Even if they end up as pretty as you, Lady Brugga. The blush on her face was just priceless. Frigga, what about my situation then? Alexander, your case is special. You're not a painting given some sentience. You are a living goddess given a painting to reside in. This is why even if you can see the house and go inside, there's nothing there. It's a blank in my dimension since I haven't painted it yet. You would come back because of the magic inside, the painting compelling you to be present. Your rent for living in the painting is basically to pose as a model. As for more detail to what happened to you, I kind of sent your soul in my painting dimension, creating a living body in the process. Meaning if you find a way to cross over, you'd have two bodies. The one I created for you and your original one. And both would be as real as the other. But once again, this is gross oversimplification. I don't understand it as much as I would like to. Like I said, I relied a lot on divinity bullshit to finalize the job. Frigga, language young lad. You may be a devil, but no need for vulgarity. I have to say your magical paintings, as you call them, are a very interesting idea. And if I understand everything you said, you could create more painting for me to move in if you link them to my painting? Like painting the inside of this house. Alexander, indeed. I could totally do that. The only problem is that I invented that house. Before you ask me, do paint the inside, I would recommend you chose a house of your choice. Let me visit it, and I'll do a painting for each room. Furthermore, if you have some clothes you'd like to use, ask your husband to give me memory of yourself with said clothes. This way you'll be able to change clothes to the set I paint. Keep in mind that for every modification to you, it would need your blood to link to you. The funny thing is that you could then gift your paintings to some friends and visit them whenever you want without a single waste of time. You could also send some to your enemies and spy on them. Nice, right? Odin, indeed, young friend, very nice, he said behind my back. I would appreciate it. I could book your next 10 magical paintings. I will give you memories of a specific house that would match well with the exterior of the one you already painted. I will also grant you memories of my Frigga wearing various garments. Furthermore, I will give you memories of various magical forests. Now tell me, Alexander Gremory, what will it cost me? Alexander, the cost. Well, before we discuss the price of expanding Lady Frigga's living space, I would like to state that her painting is of course a gift. It would be crass and insulting of me to try and sell you your own wife, especially considering she's been nothing less than cordial with me. Odin noted and appreciated the little smile of appreciation on his face, and the people around convinced me that it was a good decision. No way I was bargaining a living goddess as if I owned her. I was not touching that can of worms. Alexander, that being said, I did try to meet you for a specific reason, and I could see them tensing again. What's with the show of trust people? I have employed a human woman named Selena as my maid recently, to help me during my travel around the world to find inspiration for my art, as well as to discover the world. The problem is that she suffered a severe condition. I found a way to help her with magic, but devil magic would not work. As I'm sure you already know, our kind of magic is spontaneous and volatile. It's extremely flexible, but is not really adapted for enchanting, warding, or healing magic. It can work, but it's really not the obvious choice. In contrast, Asgardian runes are especially stable for permanent modification, despite needing more time to set and knowledge to make it work. I came to you in the hope you would let me learn your magic system. Of course, I'm willing to make the standard value you ask for, not to teach it to outsiders, aside from my wife and kids if I end up having some. Frigga, oh sweetie, with your talent and personality, I don't have a shred of doubt you'll find someone for you. She clearly had an eye to find diamonds in a crowd, I realized. Odin, that's what you want? He asked sternly. You want to learn runes magic? Alexander, yes. Was it too much? I'm willing to learn just the basic. Would that be more to your satisfaction? I admit I was surprised. I didn't thought he considered that knowledge so important. Odin kid, you gave me back my wife, and gave me the information needed to point me a vile piece of ice giant shit in my court. Furthermore, you've been nothing but polite and did not demand anything, but simply requested. What I'm telling you is that you are asking for too little. Alexander, like I said, the painting of your wife is a gift I hoped would get me some goodwill. I really don't want to give the impression I'm bartending with her life. Frigga, nonsense, you're not bargaining my life, but the nice little house you painted in the background. Alexander, I really don't have more I need, really. As you know, I'm part of the Gremory clan, and while I'm not especially pampered, there's not much I can't get if I ask for it. But for the following paintings, I would like the authorization to rent a room in Asgard for the next month. Since from the tidbit I gathered during your information gathering. Frigga, you can say tantrum, sweetie. I'm sure he already realized he's overreacting. That cut me straight, and the way the soldiers looked at their king gave me all the knowledge I needed. Ignore the comment. Alexander, Anyway, Loki will surely know at some point I'm responsible for your reappearance, especially if I intend to make a business of selling living painting in the future. Because of this, I would like to take time to ward my personal place using ward magic, just to be able to sleep without a dagger under my pillow. But before I master said magic, I'll be vulnerable. I would appreciate staying here. I believe he wouldn't visit your kingdom in the near future. Odin, granted. But during your stay, we'll need to find a more generous payment. You need to understand that irrelevant of your opinion, I need to give you something of value. The event of today will be no, and I can't appear as a Scrooge toward the other factions and pantheons. It would greatly impact my future interactions with them. In the meantime, I, Odin All-Father, King of Asgard, declare you Alexander, Gremory, friend of the realm. You will always be welcomed inside my halls, and aid shall be given when asked for. So I swear, I will also give you a small piece of land with a house on it. For the moment, Brugga will guide you to one of our guest rooms. If you need anything, just ask her. She'll be assigned to you during your stays in Asgard. Tomorrow I'll assign another Valkyrie to introduce you to the subject of rune magic. She's young, but she's a real prodigy. She'll be perfect for you to discover the subject. Do you need to send for your maid? Alexander, no thank you. I wasn't exactly expecting our meeting to go like that, but she'll be fine for a month. I'll just send her a message and some money. And thank you for your generosity, All-Father. I want you to know I feel extremely proud and elated of your trust by naming me a friend of Asgard. Frigga, it's really not much, my dear. You really helped us a lot. You might not realize it, but my presence here changed a lot more things for the realm as a whole. Gods are powerful beings, but we are also restricted by a set of rules. The Queen being back will allow for Asgard to get better in a more spiritual way. Odin, indeed. Now, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but my wife and I have several urgent matters to attend. We shall speak further in the future. Alexander, of course, I wish you luck in your endeavors. My lady, my lord. And thus, my stay in Asgard started in a good note. My stay in Asgard was pleasant to say the least. After Odin's declaration, I was considered positively by the locals. It was a nice feeling and a radical change of pace compared to the underworld where I was ignored at best. It took 4 days before Brugga showed me my new house. It wasn't a mansion, but it was a fairly large residence with 4 bedrooms. The best part? It was mine. Not my father's, but mine. I finally had my own legal there. In the end, I stayed around 40 days, learning about various stuff, but mostly about the culture from a Asgardian point of view and not the clearly biased information I had access to in the Gremory library. Brugga was a great source of information in this matter. It turns out she would be assigned to me any time I came here. It wasn't a temporary thing. So I had the equivalent of a capable maid during my stay in Asgard. And after living with a permanent helper, it really motivated me to finish my Make Selena the Best Maid Ever project. I just knew it would become annoying to do everything by myself again. Having a maid was clearly like taking drugs. Too much addictive. But the most important part of my vacation was my rune magic studies. It was also the time where I was introduced to Rias. She was exactly what I expected her to be, albeit younger, and she didn't have her nickname of the Valkyrie that's never had a boyfriend yet. From what I learned, She was using this tutoring opportunity to bolster her resume, since she would apply in the equivalent of the best magical high school. Brugga also told me she was already known as a stuck-up genius bent. In truth, she just sucked at social interaction if you hadn't the same values as her. Our first meeting was a bit strained because she thought I was just a pampered rich kid that found a way to be given a clearly overqualified tutor. The fact that I had an aura of laziness around me did not help. What did she expect? I was a kid on holiday, and while I truly wanted to learn, I did not have a deadline, especially since I was now permanently invited. Things got way better when she realized that I understood what she taught pretty quickly, and when we started having heated discussion on improving magical circle using runes. We became really good friends, and I ended up working with her on creating an extremely complex rune sigil that could be used for long-range bombardment magic. It was supposed to become her own personal magic in the future, but it ended up a joint project with me, and we finished it way earlier than in canon. Frigga also started giving me lessons when the subject became advanced. I used the opportunity to praise Rias so she could learn with me. I know I scored a lot of brownie points for that. Her completely blushing face during that discussion was also super cute. Sadly, that's also the moment Frigga took an unhealthy interest in our relationship. Speaking of Frigga, I was also paid a hefty sum to finish my order and ended up creating several paintings of her that were put in various locations. One of them being the living room of my new house in Asgard. When I asked why here, she just told me she wanted to have the possibility to talk with me when we weren't busy. In the end, I didn't really have a reason to refuse, so we started to chat regularly during my afternoon snack, and I started to think of her as the nice grandma I didn't have. A bit before departing, I also created for her a very special painting. One that was kept secret even from Odin. At least I think he still doesn't know about it, and ended up in my basement waiting for relocation. The reason for the secrecy? It depicted her in an ugly but comfortable pajamas stating, "When I wake up, I have no plan to be sexy. It just happens." She was in a bedroom full of mangas, anime figurines, and of course, impressive computer. That's right. During our discussion, I corrupted her and made her a woman of culture. Furthermore, I found a way to attach an Ethernet slot on the painting frame. This way, she would have access to internet once I had decided where to build my permanent workshop. As for the drop of blood needed for the activation, she basically told her husband, "Give him a drop of my blood, don't ask why, and don't complain." Yeah, at least I knew who wore the pant in the royal couple. All in all, it was a very enjoyable experience where I made several friends and acquaintances. I also ended up mastering rune magic enough for some of my projects. But before upgrading Selena, I needed a safe place. Sure, my house in Asgard was awesome, but I was still ultimately part of the underworld faction, and staying here too long could bring complication. Complication I did not want to deal with at all. So after talking about it with Frigga, if she had an idea, she told me she could ask one of her friends to give me a little place inside one of her territory. And thus I ended up with a modest mansion with a warehouse attached to it in Tokyo, as thanks for bringing back Frigga. It turns out one of my painting was sent to Yasaka, the leader of the Western Yukai faction, and apparently one of Frigga's best friend. That when I learned Yasaka was really old, like 650 years really old. Who knew? And after some tearful goodbyes, Ross Weiss really was a crybaby. I departed for Tokyo toward my new permanent residence. The objective being to be able to survive an apocalyptic attack, a trickster god fury, or a god of death wrath. Just in case. Asterisk Michael POV asterisk. Things are becoming more and more difficult. It's been a few months already, but I can't seem to find what's the matter with Twice Critical. It's like the sacred gear was simply cut off from the system. And what is this Heartseeker? That thing just decided to connect itself to the system, but I can't get any information about it. And worse, I can't erase it. It's like I don't have enough privilege. If only the Jade Emperor would have let me search the area as soon as the bug was discovered. When I was finally allowed to search the area, I didn't find anything. The human that was supposed to have the Twice Critical sacred gear appeared completely normal, as if he was never connected to the gear. It shouldn't be possible. And as if I didn't have enough problems trying to maintain the system, Gabriel keeps asking me for permission to visit a devil kid. I mean, I understand, really, the fact that Queen Frigga is back in the land of the living, if we can call it that, is clearly a miracle. And if he could do it for her, maybe, just maybe, he could do it for Father too. Sight. I just don't see a devil helping us to bring back Father. It seemed that we will have to monitor him closely to find out his opinion on the war. And if he's a pacifist, then hopefully, Zeus, POV, Damn it. Stupid Loki, stupid Hades, stupid Odin. Can't they keep my realm out of their stupid conflict? What's this about war? We've stopped bothering with other pantheons for the last 2,000 years. And then Hades just had to screw things up like he usually does. I can't believe I'm related to that bastard. Maybe I should just order Athena to deal with it? It looks too troublesome, and I have better things to do. And since when gods can be resurrected as a painting, why wasn't I informed of that? If a failsafe like that exists, I should have one. I'm sure that Nerd Hephaestus already has a painting hidden somewhere, the selfish cunt. And if he refuses me, I'll just punish him as his king and order the devil brat to offer me one. It should be a nice honor for the Gremory house. Yeah, let's do that. Frigga POV. The last few days, or should I say centuries, were really peculiar. Living inside what Alexander calls the painting dimension is restraining, but at the same time it's infinitely better than my resting place. I can still remember bits of it. The great void, the whispers of other gods, desperate to keep existing, desperate to be listened to, but still slowly losing their sanity. Shiver. It is depressing to know what will happen to me should I die again, while my name isn't forgotten. At least with the number of paintings of me in existence, it will be more complicated now, especially with the one hidden in his basement. It was a great idea of him to allow me the geek bedroom, like he calls it. Alexander has no idea how much hubby and I are thankful for his present. The original painting's name still make me smile. A godly gift indeed. That being said, I'm still shocked with the result of the investigation on the lad. I knew that devil tended to value their family magic, but it looks excessive, especially considering Alexander's talent in magic. Surely, that should count for something, right? And that stupid maid. I can't believe she's the one spearheading that attitude. It looks as if she's doing this to ensure the heirship for her son. This is just so ridiculous, more so when considering her history. But we'll make it right for him. I owe him this much at least. Now, if Ross Weiss could find her way into his heart, it would be perfect. This way we would have legitimacy to take him away from them. And seeing the girl, I'm sure he'll find a devoted wife in her. And maybe I'll have the chance to see some magical genius baby in a few years. Giggle. But in the meantime, Yasaka will take care of him. I just need to make sure the vixen doesn't try to match him with one of her yukai. Alexander belonged to US. Miracle Leviathan, POV, How is it possible for a genius like that to go under the radar? Resurrecting a god? I mean, seriously? And the kid is just 9 years old. Why isn't he being groomed by a Juka? And better yet, why are we learning about this from our spy in the Nordic pantheon? The kid was named Friend of Asgard for Satan's sake. We should be having a ceremony to strengthen the ties between Asgard and the underworld. And yet, Asgard didn't even bother notifying us. It's as if they don't acknowledge his ties to the devil faction. Something is way too fishy here. And how come he hasn't had his debut yet? Isn't he supposed to be introduced to the other noble children at his 8th birthday? Now that I think about it, Sonatan did mention he was sick during Rias' 8th birthday party. And I don't think she ever mentioned him afterward. How am I supposed to present him as a diplomatic role model if the other kids of his generation have never heard of him? And how come I can't find a trace of his devil pieces bestowal ceremony? It can't have been delayed that much, right? It should have been done when he was 6 after all. It's been more than 3 years now. Or are there special circumstance? There's just too much questions here. And when I think he's been given land in Yukai territory, despite the fact that Yasaka-chan simply refused to have any interaction with the devil faction after the Nakomata massacre, we can't be allowed to antagonize him. He may be our way in with them. It looks like there is no choice. The mystery that is Alexander Gremory needs to be resolved, and this is clearly a mission from magical girl Leviathan. Maybe I should bring Sonatan with me. After all, they're the same age. Maybe I should create a magical girl costume for my cute Sona for the occasion? Drool. Sona Tan will accept, I'm sure. After all, it's for the greater good of Devil Society. Magical girl maniacal laughter. In the end, my itinerary was changed for me. During my travel on the plane, I was called by Mother asking me to come back home. Sad I couldn't teleport directly inside the Yukai territory. The magical call would have been blocked. But it would have been dangerous to do so, especially since the incident that happened with the Nakomitas recently. From the rumor I got, every devil that teleported in Kyoto was severely punished, maimed. I could already anticipate the family meeting was going to be annoying. But despite everything, they are still my new family, and while I did not love them that much, Mother was still very nice to me, and had never shown less than motherly affection. Her only fault was not going against her husband for my treatment. But she was a devil, selfishness was a thing, and I was not stupid enough not to understand peer pressure. They also never abused me. Neglected? Sure, but never abused. At worst, the servants were a bit annoying. So I was still okay with them, Graphia aside. And honestly, they couldn't really do much to me, aside from physical punishment, that would really annoy me. Unlike Rias, I didn't use my name as a Gremory, and I was never gifted anything aside from my allowance. That would be considered small for a family of that importance. So in case of a punishment, meh, just ignore it or bail out in Kyoto for a bit. As for Selena, no way I was bringing her here yet. Just like when I was in Asgard, I gave her a bit of money and told her to live in Kyoto for a bit. No need to rush things. I would also meet Kaneko and Akino for the first time. I was a bit interested to meet other characters of the main cast. Sure, I knew they were real and all that, but it was always funny to see how an anime character looked like in real life. I'm not sure when she would get Kiba and Gasper, but I was not particularly looking into it. What would happen, and I didn't want to interact too much with important events. After all, I needed things to be as similar as possible as canon, so that Issei would save the world. The rude awakening would come later, and so, just like that, I was in front of the Gremory mansion, being guided inside by the head pest, Graphia herself. Graphia, hello Alexander-san. It's been a while. Anything of importance that happened to you in your travels? Alexander, no. Graphia, Twitch, I see. And how was your trip in Asgard? I heard a lot of exaggerated rumors about that. Alexander, Stander I guess. Graphia, I see. And what was that about a painting housing the goddess Frigga? Alexander, well, it's a painting housing the goddess Frigga. What don't you understand about that? Is there a word that bothers you? Is it housing? Or goddess perhaps? I would recommend you the usage of a standard dictionary. The explanation would be more complete than what I could give you. Still, I'm a bit disappointed from your level of education. I expected more from a servant of the Gremory house. It seems that hiring standards are at an all-time low. Or maybe you use your connection to brother to be hired despite your lacking qualification sight. At that point, she stopped talking to me, and the temperature got a bit lower. Well, she didn't like me, and I didn't like her, didn't see a reason not to be an ass. And thus, I finally entered the parlor. My attention was completely focused on the magical girl in pink clothes. What the hell is Sarah Fall doing here? Was my initial question. Then it was why on Underworld is Ajuka also here? Accompanying them was my father Zeoticus, my mother Venelana, and my brother Surzex. On a separated table on the side, Rias and her two new peerage member, Akino and Kaneko, were sitting next to another magical girl in blue attire this time. What the heck is Sona doing in a magical girl costume? I just couldn't let this opportunity pass. Without greeting anyone, I took my phone, went next to her, and took a pic. This would be glorious blackmail material in the future. I just knew it. That being said, my silent entry and determined face made everyone stop talking and focus on me. Click. Sona, W, what did you do? Alexander, took a picture of you. You're way too cute to let the opportunity pass. I didn't know at that time that someone could blush that much. Sona, delete it now. Alexander, not possible. All my pictures are saved on a separate private server in case I would lose my phone. I'm terribly sorry. I told her a big smile and a complete lack of remorse. Sona, Wani-sama, do something. Alexander, Oops, it seems like my finger tripped and sent the picture to someone called Miracle Leviathan fan mail. My bad. I said this while looking at Seraphal. Seraphal, it looks like nothing can be done then, Sonatan. Even my power as a Satan is limited, she said, doing a sad face while giving me a thumb up. I just couldn't resist and did the same, much to the consternation of Sona and the rest of the adults. Sona, I'll remember that. Alexander, sure, no problem. Here, take this as a modeling fee. I then took a piece of cake out of thin air. Tell me what you think of it. It's one of my new recipes. A variation of strawberry chocolate cake. Because yes, I cook. I mean, when I realized I had a gift for crafting, no way I wouldn't try and make sweets. It turned out they were awesome. So I created a little spell allowing food to be stored in a little dimension. Nothing big, but nice anyway. This way I always have food when I want a snack. Ajuka, nice little spell. Who taught you that? He asked, clearly interested. Alexander, made it myself. I thought it was a major necessity to have access to sweets and, more importantly, cookies at any time. And I was serious. You never know when a godly lowly may appear in front of you. That's why I had a bag of ultra-premium Dragon God's special cookies in stasis. But excuse me, I forgot myself in the gorgeous presence of the one I believe to be the lovely Eris Citri. My bad. She could blush harder, and she acknowledged my remark by timidly nodding her head. Mother, sister, father, brother, I'm back. Lady Leviathan, Lord Beelzebub, it is a pleasure and an honor to meet you officially. I am Alexander Gremory, second son of Lord Zeoticus Gremory. I'm a great fan of both of your works, by the way. Eris Citri, it's a real pleasure to meet you. I told them while doing a short bow to the two Satans and kissing the back of Sona's hand. I was so going to kill her by having all her blood go to her head. She was way cuter than she would become in the future. Ajuka, officially? I don't believe I've met you at all, he said with a little smile. After all, everyone liked to be buttered up a bit. Seraphal was also blindingly smiling at me. Alexander, that wouldn't be a mistake, my lord. I spied on some of the meetings you had with my brother and his solar. Using a simple baby talkie-walkie, I told them without an ounce of shame or regret. It was a good way to learn about the political landscape without the half-truths that father and mother tend to give me and my sister. Silence. Clearly, no one was expecting me to say that after just saying hello. What can I say? Devils tend to only think about magic protections. After all, who would be so crass as to use a pathetic human tool? Me. The worst? It clearly works. I also discovered another listening device while I bugged Brother's office, by the way. Just for fun, I put it in a box with an MP3 player stuck on Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. You can sleep happily tonight knowing that whoever that was Rick rolled. I couldn't stop a smile at that. Once again, a nice silence took place. Sir Zexio, bug my office? He asked, clearly bewildered. Alexander, when you want something, take it. Isn't that kind of the devil motto? Furthermore, Mother always taught us that information is power. Zeoticus, why didn't you tell anyone about our house being under surveillance, instead of playing a childish prank? He asked, clearly the angrier one in the room. Alexander, I tried to. 10 times actually, but each time I asked to talk with Brother about it. Grafia told me he was kept with important work and that he couldn't pamper to my every needs. When I went for her instead, she just said she was busy. And when I wanted to talk to the chief of security, I was outright ignored. So after some time, I stopped bothering about it. After all, it's not my duty to secure the mansion. That would be yours, father, as well as Grafia, since she is in charge of the servants here. At that comment, I could see Ajuka and Seraphal narrowing their eyes at Grafia, and the other adults not knowing how to react. Rias, on the other hand, was clearly not happy with me throwing Grafia under the bus. But Sona was looking at me with a weird glint in her eyes, and it seems that for some reasons it made up her mind to finally try my cake. Alexander, but that fun fact aside, may I ask why you summoned me back, Mother? I intended to decorate a new property of mine before you called. I also wanted to use the occasion to visit Kyoto and the Western Yukai Enclave. Ichiyumum, and the flow was once again broken sight. At that sound that could be mistaken as an orgasm, every head's turned to Sona again. Sona, this. This is the best cake I ever ate, she said without realizing she was being the center of attention. Alexander, thank you for your appraisal, Eris Citri. I'm that good. Seraphal, really? Give me some of its sonatan. I need to sample it. It's for my mission here. At that remark, everyone looked at her weirdly. Her mission? What could my cake have to do with that? And clearly, I wasn't the only one bewildered. And seeing that despite being clearly reluctant, Sona was going to give her a slice, I took pity on her. Alexander, if you want, I can give you an entire cake, Lady Leviathan. I don't mind. And did just that. I serve her improved lemon cheesecake. Seraphal, why do I? Thank you, Alex John. And after her first bite, she started to devour my cake as if her life depended on it, all the while moaning like a pervert. All the while, Sona doing the same. No need to say it, but during Sona's and Seraphal's discovery of my culinary skills, the rest of the room felt awkward. Some still thinking about the fact the house had been bugged since at least my departure. As if to make conversation going again, Ajuka asked me a light question with a bit of anticipation. Ajuka, can I ask why you have Seraphal's fan mail on speed dial? Alexander, sight, what a gross mistake you are making, Lord Beelzebub. I expected better from you. I told him with the most admonishing and disappointed tone I could muster, much to everyone's shock. It's Miracle Leviathan's fan mail. It's completely different. At that I could see the two gluttons getting back from Cake Heaven, or Hell in our case, to listen to the conversation again. Nonplussed by my answer, but intrigued nonetheless, Akuja didn't react more than a raised eyebrow at what could clearly be considered a condescending and borderline insulting attitude toward one of the leaders of my nation. After all, I was a kid. Ajuka, please enlighten me with your wisdom then, kiddo. A bit of mirth in his tone. Alexander, with pleasure, my lord. I answered as if everything was normal, much to my father's slowly growing dismay and anger. First of all, there is the one called Miracle Leviathan, the popular and public figure of Seraphal Citri. I did saw a few tick at me using the Citri name instead of Leviathan. An extremely bubbly and gorgeous magical girl. A hero of sort for devil kids, since she possessed impressive magical power, and childish enough for little girls to project themselves as a magical girl in the future. A role model of sort, even if she wins most of her fights by using the power of love, friendship, or cooperation. A masterful way to brainwash the future generation to be less devilish, and a way to cement the progressive faction and introduce the idea of a permanent peace with the fallen and angel. By the way, the plot of episode 427 was way too obvious. You might want to tone it down, lest it becomes banned by conservationists like Zekrom Bale, for example. It was funny seeing them look at me as if I was an alien. Seraphal attitude, on the other hand, was subtly changing and becoming more weary. This is why Miracle Leviathan is someone I greatly respect and why I'm a big fan. The fact that she found a way for her show to be interesting to follow even for adults is impressive. The judicious use of wardrobe malfunctions and skimpy outfit does the job, while staying PG for kids. The plot is also very interesting for who bother to understand the detail and give a nice overview of the political landscape. Once again, I would tell you to be careful. I honestly, though, you would be censured after episode 438, since the Nakomata reference was really obvious, as well as the fact that the presence of a devil mastermind was strongly hinted. It's when I realized that your show had become way too annoying to deal with by the council. Congrats on that, by the way. By now, most of them seemed shocked at my revelation, and Surzex was looking as Seraphal completely flabbergasted. The fact that neither Ajuka or Venelana were surprised comforted me in my opinion of them being dangerously observant. Seraphal, a little genius indeed. And thank you for your support, she said slowly with a dangerous glint of interest in her eyes. Alexander. And on the other hand, we have Seraphal Leviathan, the Satan aspect of Seraphal Citri, the name and role she won with her achievements during the Civil War. And here I'm not impressed. To be honest, aside from Falbium, I consider the Satans to be pretty pathetic. Once again, the various reactions were funny. The disbelieving look from a Youngs and Surzex, the increasingly angry one from my father, and the murderous one from Graphia. As if I care about you stuck-up bitch, were the negative ones. Weirdly, none of our two guests were antagonistic. Seraphal looked as if I had sucker punched her, and Ajuka was looking more and more interested. Mother, well, she was the only one not surprised by anything. Seraphal, I thought you were my fan? She whined. Alexander, like I said, I'm Miracle Leviathan's fan. You might even know my alias since I give a review on every of your episodes, and you wrote back a few times to thank me for my support. Seraphal, your mysterious wizard 666. She yelled while standing up and pointing her finger at me, startling everyone. You're my most hardcore fan, and I am. The show is just that great. Alexander, the one and only, at your service, magical girl Leviathan. I told her with a wink. But like I was saying, it is my personal belief that the Satan are a pathetic bunch, and I mean it in the literal meaning of the word. You all inspire me pity when I look at your situation. I mean, look at your achievements. Brother and Lord Beelzebub are two of the top 10 most powerful being in the world, and you, Lady Leviathan, are one of the two most powerful women in the underworld with my sister-in-law. Not sure who's the strongest here. You all won the Civil War and became hero for the winning faction, making you all extremely popular. Furthermore, all of you are handsome/beautiful, rich, and talented. You could do anything you'd want to. Obviously, every devil's dream, right? At that statement, I could see Rias and Sona eagerly nodding, as well as my father standing prouder. Fools! And yet, look at your current situations. Let's start for the easier one, Lord Beelzebub, I said while making a hand gesture at his direction, getting a nod of approval to continue. Despite all his accomplishments, he's almost banned from Maying because of political shenanigans, and has to do with flings. I'm even pretty sure that Lady Shax's death was more than an accident. And wow, can Ajuka look scary when he wants to? Furthermore, he can't even decide on the topic of his research, but needs to cater to every whims of the devil's part of the council if he wants to keep his budget. And he needs that budget because he's banned from doing personal research. Why? It could do untold damage to the underworld. Snort, as if a genius like him wasn't taking precautionary measures when working on volatile stuff. And let's not get into the fact that despite being separated from House Astaroth, they keep coming to him like a bunch of leeches to deal with unsavory matters discreetly, but ignore him when you want to improve their situation by getting rid of corrupted elements, because he can't intervene in matter of the house anymore. I've already heard some disturbing news about the heir of the Astaroth clan, and for what I can infer, you'll keep cleaning for them for a long while. From the look I got from him, he knew that very well, but he seemed surprised when I mentioned it. Plot knowledge and Miracle Leviathan's episodes for the win. It was fun seeing Sona look at Ajuka with pity, a look that wasn't missed by the man himself or Seraphal. Ajuka, you seem to have sadly pinpointed my job pretty accurately, and while I'm seriously wondering how you got the information on the Astaroth family, I won't inquire about it. For now, like you said, it's not my business anymore. Alexander, there's no big secret here. I just hacked Diodor's Devil Book and DevilTube accounts and browsed a bit on his online storage space. Silence. Oh, come on, don't look at me like that. It wasn't even complicated. The guy used Lucifer666 as a password on all his accounts. The worst? Almost every boys of my generation use that same password. It's like they decided to band together and decided to become as dumb as a brick as a group. The way they looked at me, it was like I had just reinvented sliced bread. That or they were just annoyed at me. Not sure which one. And I could see Seraphal looking intently at Sona. I had the feeling someone would soon be made to change her password. At least Chessmaster666 was more original. You're right. Can I be blunt with you, Lord Beelzebub? Ajuka, aren't you already blunt? He asked, bewildered. Alexander, kinda. While I may have overstepped a bit more than what would be considered appropriate with guests, I never said anything insulting, nor was I vulgar. I mostly stated facts, which is why I didn't bother asking if it was okay for me to speak my mind. You may have also noticed that while I spy, I did not give the information gathered illegally. My mother seemed proud at that. Guess we think alike. What's okay? Ajuka, and now you want to share said information? All right, go on. You've been nothing but entertaining, and it's refreshing to meet a crazy kid like you. Seraphal, hey, don't forget me. You haven't told me why you think I'm pathetic. I want to know too. Stop focusing on Ajuka-chan. I took her interruption for what it was, a way to deflect. She clearly didn't want the discussion to take place. Seemed she had an idea about the trash that was Diodora Astaroth. I was honestly surprised to discover he was already a sick fuck so young. I regularly spied on the various heir of my generation after all, because while I didn't care much about the plot, I cared about my future in this corrupted society, and like Mother taught me, information is power. Better get blackmail material while it's easy. And Diodora made it very simple. The kid took various pictures of animals he tortured. Wouldn't be long until he does the same to humans. Alexander, all right. Let's forget the Astaroth business then. After all, ladies first, I said while bowing way more than necessary to Seraphol, and comically enough to alleviate the mood a bit. To be honest, I respect you a lot as Lady Leviathan. Your work in external affair is outstanding. You're clearly the Satan that impressed me the most, and whose achievement is the most impressive in my opinion. But on the other hand, I'll never aspire to be like you. You may be the best at what you do, but what you do isn't really nice, Snicker. To be blunt, I consider you the rag of the underworld. It was fun to see that this time no one seemed angry, just waiting for me to elaborate. You're the one that has to mop the shit that devils tend to leave behind them without caring when they decide to have fun or do something creative outside the underworld. And the worst? You don't even get gratitude for it. You're usually insulted for being too slow or not doing better. Sad, really. I mean, what do they expect you to do to mend relations with Dionysus when a cunt thought it would be funny to steal all his wine? And what about that guy from the Zagan house that wanted to know if raping a virgin magician would give him power, and he thought it would be a great idea to test this on the daughter of the German Magicians Association's leader? I won't even bother talking about the guy from House Stolas. What he did was just baffling. I could see her wince at this one. Just for the record, I want you to know you have my utmost gratitude for what you do. It's one of the reasons I help you so much with your show by giving the most accurate reviews of your episodes as possible. I think of it as a payment of sort, and that I got a super smile from her. Easy goodwill, check. Nothing better than making people happy by telling the truth. I'm honestly baffled that after everything I found out, and I'm under no disillusion that I know even half of it, the entire supernatural world hasn't declared war on us. At some point, I wondered if you used some kind of mind-controlling device on every Pantheon leader. I mean, how you do it? I still can't fathom how you prevented the Yukai from simply butchering every devils in Japan. The fact you kept Kuo Town under the Belial House is, in my opinion, impossible miracle. That's right. Stand straighter. You deserve it, Seraphol. While my spiel won't change anything, at least Sona will know more about your work. So all in all, here you are, one of the most hard-working and efficient devil of our society. Yet you are only recognized for your TV show, and the council consider you as a grunt the best of times. You are also, in my opinion, the most gorgeous female devil after my mother, and yet you are single, because politics, just like with Lord Beelzebub. You are also rich, but you barely use your money because you don't have time to do anything personal. You could do anything you'd want with your fame, power, and wealth, and yet you've chosen to be the underworld rag. That is why I respect magical girl Leviathan and not Lady Leviathan. The silence was once again deafening. Maybe I should have called for Ophis. She would have been happy for a bit. I could see that Ajuka, Seraphol, and my brother were starting to become uneasy with my comments. Seraphol, that's not completely wrong, but you're oversimplifying things a lot, Alex John. Despite what you say, I'm pretty happy. My show is my hobby, and while I spend a lot of time working, the time I spend my little Sonatan is enough to recharge my happiness batteries. As for the council attitude, they could be a bit nicer. Sir Zex, she's right, you know, the council may be a bit stuck up sometimes, but overall we're making progress in the right direction. I just couldn't stop the expression of sheer disbelief on my face after that comment. And I could see Ajuka and Seraphol a bit nonplussed. Alexander, do you even believe what you said? You do realize that the council is the source of most of our society unrest, right? Especially considering they're terrified of losing the power they possess with the growing number of reincarnated devils. That's also the reason they're becoming unreasonable with the ranking process and vetoing more and more reincarnated devils. With the way things are going, You'll need to prevent a war to go from low to mid-class, and kill a dragon or something similar to go from mid to high class. Sir Zex, you're clearly still a kid, Alexander. You don't get the big picture. Alexander, the big picture? Brother, the sheer amount of old devils that simply don't care about consequences is scary. Since you're responsible for internal affair, you should know that better than me. And I'm not even talking about their interaction with humans. The less said about that, the better. For a society that is supposed to be different than the old Satan faction, we sure act the same. And that's mostly why I think that you Satans are all pathetic. I honestly think that the four of you really fought in the hope of bringing a new age. One different from the old Satan faction. But look at the results. Almost nothing changed aside the package. And despite Lady Leviathan's best effort, our reputation outside the underworld doesn't get better. To be honest, I don't think the other factions think we really changed. You know, despite being somewhat unrealistic, I sometimes hope you will just go into a council meeting one day and kill the worst of the lot on the spot. I mean, if they want to keep going with the might is right mindset, I'm all for you all showing them that it means they are not at the top of the food chain. It would calm the rest and allow you to change the underworld as it should have after the Civil War 400 years ago. Ajuka, like you said, it's not really realistic. Lots of the 72 pillar would revolt. You encompassed pretty well their mindset. They cling to the little power they have like a bunch of hyenas. I often dreamt of purging some of them myself, to be frank. Ajuka's acknowledgement of him wanting to purge a part of the devil came to a shock to the majority. I didn't get why. They were a bunch of corrupted old fart bothering him most of the time after all. Seraphal, by the way, why did you not consider Falbium Chan a looser like poor little old us? Alexander, sorry, I won't be giving my opinion on Lord Asmodeus without him being here. That would be rude. The true reason? The guy was the most lazy devil ever, and most of all completely irresponsible. He simply didn't care about the role that was given to him after the war and delegated all of his work to his subordinates. The guy may be a genius strategist, but he was no army general material in time of peace. He should have become a consultant or something. Because of him, the state of the underworld army was pretty underwhelming. No way I was going to trash talk him here. The information would surely come back to him. So I did what Seraphal Sama would have done, divert the topic. By the way, we went a bit on a tangent here, and I'm still unsure as to why I was summoned back. I heard Lady Leviathan mentioning a mission. Zeoticus, you are right. We were never meant to discuss such unsavory topics, and you were especially not meant to insult outstanding members of our society. While Father was trying to take back control of the meeting, I saw that neither Seraphal nor Ajuka were pleased with the change of topic. Clearly, they were more than happy to learn more about my personality via my political views. Alexander, you are right, of course, Father. So may I ask the reason of my presence here? Zeoticus, I tasked your mother to bring you back because of what happened during your travels, especially in Asgard. There's been many requests for details on the events. Alexander, all right. Ask away, Father. Ajuka, couldn't you first tell us what happened from your point of view, and we'll ask questions from there? Alexander, sure. And so I did. I gave them a rough summary of my stay in Asgard. Nothing important, basically the same they would have gotten from spies or rumors. It was a bother after all. Alexander. And then I left, intending to change the furniture in my new propriety. I thought it would be a nice pit stop in Japan for the future. Seraphal, so you haven't met Yasaka-chan yet? She asked me a bit too hopeful. Alexander, no, I'm not sure I will even met her. I just intend to find my guide, visit Kyoto a bit, and hold myself for 1 or 2 weeks before resuming my travels. Zeoticus, how come we were not contacted by Asgard? House Gremory did them a great boon after all. They even named you Friend of the Realm. Isn't there supposed to be a ceremony of some sort in these case, Lady Leviathan? Seraphal, yes, it was actually one of the reasons for my presence. I would like to inquire why the underworld wasn't even notified that one of our citizens gained double nationality. Alexander, why are you asking me? Shouldn't you be asking that to our diplomat in the Norse pantheon? And I honestly wasn't sure, although it might have been because I said I did not come representing a group or faction. Seraphal, I hope that you could shed some light on this, but if you don't know, never mind. Alexander, Sorry, but I honestly didn't care. I didn't even know that a ceremony was a possible thing. I just went there to learn runes and to visit after all, not politicking. Zeoticus, that was a gross failure from your part, Alexander. We could have gained much from this. Alexander, meh, I got 2 houses, some nice magic, a cool experience, and nice publicity for my future business. I count it as a win, I said, shrugging my shoulders and ignoring his look of disapproval. Ajuka, speaking of your business, could you detail a bit more about these famous paintings of yours? And so I explained what the true function was when divinity wasn't a thing. Ajuka, I see. So the resurrection is only due to fact that Queen Frigga is a goddess. Alexander, yeah, but I still think it will be a hit. Talking and thinking paintings are a novelty, and gossipers are going to love them since paintings can share information between them unless directly ordered not to. So while it may not make me the richest devil, it should allow me to live comfortably in the future. And I'm not a big spender myself, so finger crossed. I said with a happy smile. Zeoticus, this new painting process of yours will indeed be a nice way to garner favors alongside the standard monetary compensation. We'll wait a bit before selling the procedure, so as to cement you as the topmost artist for living painting. Before you depart, I want you to create a manual explaining everything about that novelty in the library. Funnily, I could see Mother sighing a bit when he said that. She knew me way too much. Alexander, don't wanna. Was it rude? Yes. Would I have to share the process anyway? Also, yes. I was not stupid enough not to realize the power Father possessed as my head of house, and I was 9 years old. Was it a problem? Not at all, because while the magic was easy to replicate, just unorthodox, the paint was much more special to create. It needed a very complicated and minute process before being useful, and I doubted that many would be able to replicate it even with the instructions. Oh, I'm sure that individuals like Ajuka could do it, but would he waste his time for it? I wouldn't bet on it, unless it was a request from the council, and they would only ask him something so trivial if they could gain significant benefits from it, like a favor from a god. All the better for me. I did not need godly attention. Honestly, I wanted them to contact my father or the council rather than me, because having gods wanting your help may sound cool, but most of them are selfish and overbearing. I was lucky with Odin. But most of all, it was part of the plan. I needed him to ask for trade with me. Every steps I took with the reveal of my invention led to this moment. There was also a reason I was being so forthcoming with the information I gathered. I needed him to take me seriously and to consider me mature enough for what was to come. I just needed to pressure him a bit more in front of outsiders. After all, he would never accept me refusing me. It would make him look weak in front of 3 Satans. But retorting to true threat in front of a kid would be no better. Now I just needed to edge him the right amount. Enough for him to initiate an exchange, but not enough to resort to taking my idea by force. Silence. Zeoticus, what do you mean you don't want? I'm not asking you, Alexander. This is an order from your head of house. Alexander, oh, my bad, father. Still don't wanna. Zeoticus, Alexander, this is an order. Alexander, I understood the first time, father. No need to raise your voice. You know better than most that I'm not an idiot. I just choose to ignore your order. I told him, rolling my eyes with the most nonchalance I could muster. What did you expect? That I was going to give you the idea on which I intend to build my future business, just so you could share it with strangers for your personal benefit? That should be the most I could push him in front of the guests. Further than that would be too much, and I'll risk severe punishment. Looked like Mother knew that too. Venelana, Alexander, enough. Stop being childish. Your sister is enough for the both of you. It seemed that Rias was already being too pampered by brother. Take that, sister. Alexander, **, very well, mother. But I request something in exchange. It's not fair that father would benefit from what might be the biggest work of my life without me gaining anything from it. Ajuka seemed the most interested when he heard I was going to give in, but he seemed to realize there was more to it. Smart devil. As for me, I was hanging on his word. Once again, I needed that trade. Zeoticus, very well. While I'm not happy with your attitude, I can concede your point. Knowing you, you expected something like that from the beginning. Well, he was a politician. I guess he can see when someone tried to manipulate him, and I never said I was an impressive politician. What do you want? Speak. That was the moment. I almost won. There is only one thing Father could do that would bring untold damages to my peaceful future, and I needed that gone. Now, I just needed to make him accept it. Alexander. Very well, Father, I want. Alexander. The right to veto any marriage partner you choose for me that I don't approve of. That's right. Arranged marriage. That was my nightmare. No way I was going to let him choose someone for me. If I had to live thousands of years with a woman, I'm the one choosing her. Especially since he didn't care about feelings or compatibility, only family benefit. Rias' example was all I needed. When I realized I was in a worse situation than her, I'm not the heir, and I'm not loved by the most powerful syscon of the underworld, I started to look on how to get myself immune to that plague. I always wondered why Rias had that much problem getting out of hers, so I checked the details. Let's just say it's not pretty. Basically, if you're the blood child of a house's head of the 72 pillars, a blank marriage contract is redacted 6 days after your birth, using a drop of your blood. The head of house just need to fill the name, the date, and add various clauses if he wants, and it's magically enforced. And I'm talking powerful magic here. The only way to cancel it is by canceling the contract. Sounds simple, right? The problems? First, since it's blood-tied, if I destroy it without the head of house approval, shit happens because of blood magic shenanigans. I can't just burn it and say, good job, me. There's an actual risk of blood malediction. As a male, it's highly probable I'd become disfigured and a quick shot in bed. And even if I commissioned someone to do it, the curse would still occur. It's based on intent detection magic. I swear, the guy that crafted the standard contract was evil, but he did the job well. I'm truly terrified of it. And the second problem? I have no idea where Father stored the contract anyway. I do know of a way to cancel it before it can take effect, but I would need to renounce my name in a magical ritual, officially rejecting any ties with my family. Once again, it's more than just being named Alexander No Name. I would lose the magical and physical benefits linked to the Gremory household. I would probably become a bit less handsome, less magically powerful, and there's a high chance my hair would become less red or outright change color. Not to mention Father would definitely consider me an enemy after that. And as for my potential betrothed, her reputation would be thrown in the mud. I mean, which devil would be willing to renounce everything that matters, devil general opinion, just to escape her? Yeah, I would gain a mortal enemy, and hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So thank you, but no thank you. But the worse? I'm pretty sure my crafting gift would be affected. There's a real possibility for it to disappear completely. So no repudiation ritual. And here we were. The opinion were varied. Rias looked at me like I was an idiot. Just wait a few years, sister. Mother looked proud, happy. Hard to say, but a positive emotion. Brother was bewildered. Of course you wouldn't understand. Father was too afraid of you to force you to marry you to someone you didn't want. Grafia was annoyed, standard feeling, and Father was clearly unhappy. On the guest side, Sona was blushing even more. Asterisk, I roll asterisk, as if it had anything to do with her. Serafal was finding this funny, and subtly glancing towards Sona, and finding it less funny. And finally Ajuka seemed entertained. Zeoticus, that's what your little play was for? To marry for love, or some nonsense like that? You can't be serious? Alexander. Father, I believe that if I have to share my very long life with someone, said life would be much more comfortable if she would share opinions, hobbies, or at least have a temperament compatible with mine. Furthermore, you may have noticed I'm not asking the right to choose her. I know that this right should belong to the head of house, as is proper. I'm just asking for the right to veto the partners I deem unfit. It might make your work to find someone for me a bit more difficult in the future, but considering the huge benefit I am offering you, it would be but a petty annoyance for you. As if, from the moment he'd accept, I would simply veto every single girl until he had no choice but to accept my choice. And if he'd refuse? Don't care, I wouldn't marry, and my kids, if I have some, will be born out of wedlock. And since I learned I had double nationality, I could simply live in Asgard where no one would cares about that. In the end, we bargained a bit for bargaining's sake, and I got what I wanted. I even managed to force him to put it on magical contract using the head of house position as the signatory by justifying that if he had an accident, a future head of house would not be bound by his word otherwise. And from that moment, my family simply didn't have anything that could impact me in the long term. Devil society as a whole even. So I may be part of the devil faction on paper, but I knew the truth. I was free. So I could now live a lazy and relaxed life with no problem. After that little debacle, I needed to do more thing, just out of petty revenge and to gain more goodwill. It happened when Ajuka, Sona, and Seraphal were taking their leave, after a never-ending tea party punctured with boring banalities. Alexander, Lord Beelzebub, Lady Leviathan, may I have a moment before you go, please? Ajuka, sure, why not, he said, intrigued again. Seraphal, of course, Alex John. I'll always have time for one of my biggest fan, still as bubbly despite the boring ending of the meeting. I guided them to an empty room, noticing Graphia glancing our way. Alexander, I noticed that both of you seemed interested in my living paintings. So here, 2 manuals for you. A gift for your continuous hard work for our society. Did I have 2 manual on me? No, just a bit of replication magic and voila. 2 happy Satan and a future annoyed father. With this you may find a way to gain some goodwill with the other Pantheon Lady Leviathan. Just so you know though, it's pretty hard to make the ink, so you'll need a very good crafter. Ajuka, thank you kiddo, it's appreciated. It's always good to know I'm not the only devil creating new stuff. Here, my personal phone number. Who knows, it may come handy. Seraphal, thank you Alex John. Here, my phone number and my devil mail too. Just send your review to me directly in the future. I won't have to search them in my fan mail like that. And a bonus. Kiss. And just like that, I got my first kiss by the magical girl no less. Sona, gasp, one each on. You can't just kiss a boy like that. Alexander, well, I was not expecting Lady Leviathan to be a thief. Seraphal, what are you talking about, Alex John? Alexander, well, you stole my first kiss and took my heart with it. How ruthless of you, Lady Leviathan. Seraphal, oh, aren't you super cute? Alexander, by the way, I was not going to give a gift to both of you and ignore the cute Erisitri. Here for you, a bag of tangerine cookies. Sona, thank you very much, Alexander Cohen. If they are as good as your cake, it's a very nice gift. I hope we'll meet again soon. She told me, blushing like always. Alexander, this being done, I bid you adieu. Have a safe trip. And after a quick goodbye, everyone went their way. But for me, things weren't ending just yet. A more close-up meeting took place with just me, mother, and father. I ended up being punished for my attitude, and thus, I would not be allowed to receive my devil pieces until at least my 10th birthday. Like I cared, not that I was going to tell them that. I acted like it was unfair, since Rias already had hers. My little act made my father happy, and I was basically left alone. Next, they mentioned the need to formally present me to the other noble children. Once again, it was decided I would happen for my 10th birthday. I was okay with it. This way I would be able to meet the few interesting devils of my generation. After all that, I ended up staying home for a few days, where Rias introduced me to Aquino and Chiron/Kaneko. And I guess Rias already presented me in a bad light, since Aquino did not really made any effort to know me. As for Kaneko, she was gloomy, but the Nikomata incident was still recent, so she got a pass. This time, the reason for my stay? After genuinely complimenting me for my recent achievements, Mother asked me if I could make a painting of her to show off to Natasha Phoenix. I had no problem with that since I like to paint, and it would be another way to advertise my future business. So I stayed longer than anticipated, but went away leaving behind a happy and proud mother. When I arrived at Kyoto's airport, my guide was already waiting for me. Her name was Megumi, and she was a Kamaitachi yokai. From what I got, it's a type of weasel with sharp claws. After introducing herself, she told she was assigned to me for a week. During that time, she would be my guide and would clarify the various supernatural aspects of Kyoto for me. It was also expected of me to learn the various restrictions that would be set on me since I was a devil. So should I commit a crime, they would judge me with the knowledge that I knew what I was doing. At the end of the week, she would also lead me to the Kyoto temple where I would meet Yasaka. But for me, her most important task was to show me my future home. I still had no idea what it looked like, so I was pretty impatient. But before that, I told her I needed to meet someone. She got a bit edgy when she realized an intruder was staying in Kyoto and no one knew about it. But I told her she was just a regular human knowledgeable about the supernatural that helped me organize my travels. So after half an hour, I was rejoined by Selena, and we moved in direction of my house after short presentations. The house was on the edge of the Western Yukai faction and was almost linked to a little warehouse. It was 3-story high and was extremely pleasant to look at. The visit took a bit of time since there were a lot of rooms. I was very satisfied with it, especially since it was free. With that said, I told Megumi that I would stay at home for the rest of the day, as well as tomorrow. We could meet at 10 in the morning in 2 days. Once she was gone, I told Selena what happened to me in detail the last 2 months, and then I started warding my property like a crazy lunatic. I wanted to be able to live peacefully, so nothing was considered too much. And so, within 7 hours, I did the best I could with the materials at my disposal. I need to find powerful, magical, conductive materials to do better. I was safe. I also started to create a proper ritual room. These rooms can't pop out of nowhere and need time to become a real assistance. To put it simply, once you name the room as a ritual room, it will get stronger and stronger with each ritual performed inside. So I ended up my day with my very first personal ritual. Nothing big. It would just sever the connection between me and every body part or bodily fluid that came from me. This way, if someone possessed some of my blood or similar stuff, it would become magically inert. Sadly, it doesn't work for things already in use, like a bloody marriage contract. So what I did here, bloody? Get it? The ritual went well, and it allowed me to solidify my ritual room. And from the feedback I got, it seemed there was only the marriage contract linked to me. So at least I was good regarding potentially dangerous bindings. The night went well, and the bed in the master bedroom was very comfortable. I'll need to enchant it to make it better, though. I did not bother learning runes to not exploit them, even for the most trivial things. But there was no urgency. For now, I had 2 priorities. 1, improve my safety. 2, improve my maid. For the first point, I could weirdly not do so much. I was seriously limited by materials. My first thought was improving my body, and I realized that improving my own body would be very hard and dangerous once I concentrated on the issue. And since I do not have the protagonist aura that makes you succeed despite incredibly small odds each fucking times, I was not fond of doing that. So I went for trinkets and armors. I was not fond of killing, so I first created a targeted magical taser inside a ring. I created an area of effect taser inside another ring. That was it for the offensive. Not much. I know, but I did not really have common enemies. Frankly, aside from Loki and Hades, there shouldn't be anyone wanting to bother me. So the taser was more for an everyday common occurrence kind of thing. The armor was better though. An extremely resistant enchanted suit that would trigger without my need in case of danger. Force field, illusionary body double, mental jamming, noise canceller, and so many others. I simply put every contingent plans I could think of and added a small piece of enchantment to change the visual of it. The very numerous glowing Norse runes would not do for small talks with normal humans after all. And finally, an earring of super-duper ultimate teleportation. On a single, though, or if for whatever reason I was unconscious, it'd be instant rollback in a safe room in my crazily warded mansion. They would be able to trace me, but I wouldn't care. For the second point, once the week was done, it would be time to edit Selena. I couldn't wait to start. But learning the rules of my new residence was a necessity. What a drag. The week went by pretty quickly. Having a guide who lived in Kyoto for the last 250 years make for some funny stories. Megumi was surprisingly nice with us after she realized I was pretty chill, and Selena was okay. She didn't like her much. But Selena could really be a pain in the ass with all the blunders she could do in a single hour. But at least she did not attack her, so it was a win in my book. I also realized that Yasaka mustn't have asked for many people's opinion when she gave me the property. I was not welcome in the Yukai areas. The only reason I was not attacked was because Megumi was apparently a strong deterrent, and words went by that I was personally invited by Yasaka. All that being said, I decided that in the future I would stay away from them. And since during that time I finished making a proper teleportation array, I could do my groceries in Paris, no biggies. I just love teleportation. When you have a big enough magic reserve, it's the best. My week ended with my scheduled meeting with Yasaka. Nothing big really, aside from her too massive boo. Well, you get it. She really was sexy, completely deserving the nine-tails fox reputation. We did some small talks, and I could clearly see she was happy for what I did for Frigga. Apparently, it was extremely hard to make true friends when you were in a position of power. And losing such a long-time friend like Frigga really saddened her. So being able to chat with her on a daily basis improved her mood a lot. Good for her and Frigga, I guess. She was present during the meeting, by the way, and was happy to hear from me since I hadn't talked to her since my departure in the underworld. I took the opportunity to tell her I finished furnishing the room to put that painting and would soon cancel the stasis charm I casted on it, so I could store it in my hammer space. I also used the opportunity to cockblock the hero faction a bit. I remember that at some point they would try to capture Yasaka by using her daughter, the cute Kunu-chan, as an hostage, and it would cause some property damage in Kyoto. And since I live here now, I wanted none of that. So I gifted a teleportation item similar to mine, but in the form of a footband. To define the apparition point, she would just need to crush the attached bead on the location spot, and it was good to go. Once again, I was thanked repeatedly by Yasaka, and Frigga seemed proud of me. It ended up being a good meeting. Got thanked, got praised, and got some goodwill. It's important to gather goodwill, after all. You never know when you'll need some. Before I could take my leave, though, she invited me so she could introduce Kunu-chan to me. She must have wanted her to know who gifted her the potentially life-saving artifact. So we set a date for the following month. And now that my schedule was totally free, it was time to resume project Make Selena the best maid ever. It took me a full week of intense trial and error, but I finally had the basis of what I would work with, and it would be glorious. I based my idea on the concept of selling your soul to the devil. Even if in reality, it was more of an acknowledgement for said devil to rip your soul at your time of death. So based on that, can I ask for less than a soul? And it turns out that with rune magic, I can create a contract that allow for a permanent transfer of part of the essence of an individual. It's like a bit of soul, but not really. You can consider essence like the stats and experience points that life gave you, and which is recorded on your character sheet, your soul. The crafting time for a contract was moderate, an hour of deep concentration. The components were easy to acquire, some magical blood, easy to buy in a devil butchery, and parchment made of 6-year-old goat skin. There are a few limitations to my devil contract, though. The biggest one is that it's human essence I'll tamper with, and thus I can't use it for myself. I can eat it for lack of a better word, but it wouldn't make me stronger. It's like saying that you've gained strength by eating meat. Sure, your body got stronger with the nutriment and all that, but you did not really become stronger. So it will be all for Selena, and she will have to stay human. It could technically work if a devil signed a contract. The problem is that devil essence is corrupted and chaotic, and mixing that in someone's soul is a bad idea. It's at a time like this that I realize how much of a genius Ajuka truly is with the creation of the devil pieces. The second problem is that the one signing the contract must do it willingly and understanding what he is doing. That is the touchy part. I can't just create a mobile app on the Apple Store that says, by downloading this app, you give your remaining lifespan to the creator. So I need to take a bit of time to prove it would not be a scam. And the last problem? I needed to give them something they considered valuable enough for the trade. I cannot just tell someone, give me 10 years of your life for this shiny coin, or I'll kill you right now. I could still threaten them to sign or die if they hesitated, but the trade must still be worthy in their eyes. Once my process was good, I stayed the entire week in my workshop creating contracts. Oh, and I also activated the nerd portrait of Frigga and installed in a room I had furnished with mangas, DVD, various consoles, and my personal computer. I did not forget to plug the internet cable on her painting frame. It was fun to teach the goddess how to play League of Legends. I even played a few games with her. and I was very impressed by her learning curve. Goddess indeed. I had no idea at the time that I was contributing to create the future legend of professional gaming. Love_face. After explaining everything to Selena, it was time to go, and I started in easy mode, direction Ukraine. Why there? One of the poorest Eastern Europe country. And with the political and military tension, people were poor and scared. Perfect for my needs. So on our first day, we went to the Kyiv, the capital, and followed the direction given by Heartseeker. Yeah, I already knew what I wanted from my first target. We ended up in what was basically a homeless gathering. There I saw her, a bit separated from the group. I didn't need to follow my compass anymore, since it was obvious it was her I wanted. A woman that could have been incredibly beautiful if she wasn't sick, dirty, dressed in rags, and malnourished. The various bruises on her face did not help either. Alexander. Hello, lady. Would you be willing to give me a few minutes of your time? Victim 1. The fuck are you, boy? Piss off. Alexander. Now. No need to be so rude. I come bearing gifts after all, I said with a warm smile. Victim 1. Gifts? I'm not stupid. Nothing's free, kiddo. Did Kuzma or Maxim told you to come? She said while looking at me more seriously. You're a bit young for that now. Alexander. Indeed. I do not require this kind of services. I came for trade with you. You have 2 things that I want, and I need to know what you're willing to trade it for. Victim 1. Look at me, rich boy. What the fuck do you think I have that you don't? Alexander. Your inherent beauty. I want you to give me the charm, body, and face you could have had if life had been more kind to you. That and your sexual experience. I told her, trying to make me sound mysterious and oppressive. I was going with the devil's soul trader after all. Victim 1. The hell are you saying, kid? You a creep or something? And why's your maid staying there like an idiot? She asked me a bit more wearily. Alexander. She's not my guardian. I'm her master. And it's funny you talk about hell. It is where I come from after all. I said with a creepy smile while making my eyes glow red. Victim 1, Satan. She yelled, gaining the attention of the hobos a bit further. Random nobody. You okay there, Natasha? Alexander. Before you answer, keep in mind I want to trade, not to kill. Natasha. Yeah, I'm good, Boris. The kid just surprised me. Alexander. Good. Now tell me, what do you desire for what I want? Natasha. You can give me anything? Alexander. Of course not. You're not selling your soul. Do not presume, mortal. The only reason I'm here is because my new servant is in need of a heavy lifting, and you are near. If you're too greedy, I'll just ask elsewhere. I do value equal trade after all. Natasha, could you kill someone for me? Alexander, it depends, my dear. Some lives are more important than other. Natasha. Petro Shevchenko. Wow, the hate with which she said his name. No idea why, but good for me. I need for Selena to kill someone anyway. Can't have my maid afraid of killing. This way it's double win for me. Selena gets her first kill, and I complete my first deal. Alexander. Idle curiosity. What has he done to you? Natasha. It's because of him that I live here. He pimped me against my will to his friends when I was in college. When my parents learned that I was considered the college prostitute, they threw me out of the house. You can see the result. Ouch. I can get why she's not his biggest fan. Alexander. Very well, Natasha. We have a deal. I said this using my magic to make my voice sound like several voices at the same time. You know, to have the creepy feeling, and so she really gets it's not a joke. Just put a drop of blood on this contract to seal the deal. You'll know when the deed is done. And after saying that, I made a contract appear in my hand, and using a quick cantrip spell, added the terms to the contract in red light. She looked warily at the contract, at me, did a double take on what was written, and put a drop of blood. With that, the contract disappeared in a burst of flame, surprising her fellow tramps. Just in my hammer space, really, but the show must go on. Alexander. It was a pleasure doing business with you, Natasha Kovalenko. I wish you the devil luck on your future endeavors. Why did I know her name? It appeared on the contract, and I know what is in my hammer space. Once again, a great way to make me look super cool. And thus we went away, while her friends were looking at us suspiciously. After quickly explaining what happened to Selena, she could not speak Ukrainian. I told her it was her job to kill the man. And I was surprised to see she looked determined, but not scared. Alexander, no reaction to the fact I'm asking you to kill someone? Selena, well, you're a devil, right? That's going to be standard things you'll ask me to do, right? I've been preparing myself for that for a while. She told me, a bit unsure. Alexander, why the heaven would you think that? I've never killed anyone myself, you know. I'm not sure what kind of image you have of me, but I'm not doing evil stuff as soon as you're not looking. I'm really just a lazy inventor/artist. Devil is just my race. Selena, but you are asking me to kill someone right now. Alexander, well, yeah, it's more because bodyguard will be of your maid duty in the future, and I don't want you to hesitate to kill my enemies or something. While my family are pretty lax devils, there's some nasty piece of work in the underworld. Our reputation does come from somewhere after all. Selena, it's all right. I already prepared myself for this. You're the only one who ever gave me a real chance in my life, and I will never let you down for this. I'll become the very best servant you'll ever imagine, she said with a bit of fanaticism in her voice. Finding the trash was easy, heart-seeker for the win. I just knew when I created that artifact that it was a good idea. We found him in a small house, having sex with the one I suppose was his girlfriend. A bit of magic, and the door opened for us. Another piece of magic, and the two lovers were asleep. Not wanting to incriminate the girl, I simply lifted the guy fireman style, and we teleported to my house. How could I lift an adult human body while I was just a kid? I'm a devil, and while I don't work out, devils are strong. It's also a reason why most devils are handsome. You need to indulge a lot to become fat or something similar. Genetic just loves us. Frigga was there when we passed the living room, and raised an eyebrow when she saw me carrying a living body, but since I kept silence, so did she. We went to my workshop where I put the guy in a kind of bath. I installed that in case I needed to process a magical beast for ingredients in the future. Then I simply gave Selena a butcher knife. The way she did not hesitate at all was actually scary. I mean, that should have been a life-changing choice, right? But I only saw resolve in her eyes. That, and the need for my approval as soon as she slit his throat. And she had it. Then I simply told her to take off her clothes and to come in front of the human-sized mirror. I took a video camera and set it behind her, but with an angle to see her reflection in the mirror. She was a bit shy to be nude in front of me, but said nothing. Then I took the contract and asked her to put a drop of her blood. This way she would be the one to gain the essence ready to be extracted in the contract. The change was fast, and from the moan I was hearing, pleasurable. In less than 15 seconds, she went from ugly duckling to hot bombshell. First, she grew a lot. She went from 5 to 5.7 foot tall. Next was her body frame. Her back wasn't bent anymore, and she stood straighter. Her whole body became more toned, but in a sexy way, nothing bulky, losing all her excessive fat on the way. And of course, she now had an hourglass figure. Big bust, shapely behind, and thin waist. Her face also changed. No more pimps, she lost some fat, and the line of her face became smoother. Her black hairs became more shiny and got more volume. Her nose straightened itself and became smaller. Finally, her teeth got whiter and their shape changed and got more orderly. The only weird thing were her eyes. They got purple and glowed a little bit. I had kind of expected something like that. There's a reason we say that the eyes are the door to our soul. So when you tinker with your soul, there is that little physical manifestation. Selena looked incredibly happy with her transformation, and her smile was mesmerizing. And then suddenly I saw her blushing, her eyes rolled in her head, and she fainted on the spot while coming hard. Alexander, wasn't really expecting that. I guess when I asked for the sexual experience package, it was a bit more literal than I, though. Food for though. Selena ended up unconscious for about 7 hours. And from some of the noise she was doing, I can guess she was in full experience mode. I had some fun poking her at time, since she reacted instantly by moaning. When she woke up, she looked at me weirdly, but soon got better. I think if I had been a teenager at the time, she would have jumped me on the spot. In the end, she thanked me by kissing me deeply. And I wasn't going to deny her. After taking her new measurements, I made some big alteration to one set of her clothes and told her to buy some more. I also asked some detail about how she felt, how she experienced things, and I made a few scans to learn about the condition of her body and soul. It resulted in good and bad news. The good news, she was in perfect health, and her soul was in good working order. The bad news, her essence was messed up. The body alteration was okay, but it was a stupid idea to add experience from someone else. I realized after talking with her that in her mind, she experienced everything with the feelings and personality of Natasha at the time. It was a schizophrenic experience. It would alleviate with time, but right now she needed to take time to re-center herself and realize that everything linked to sex were just memories. So for future contract, no more experience. I'll just upgrade her talents. She'll learn. I chose her because she was a hard worker after all. After a week where Selena tried to meditate a lot, I decided to continue upgrading her. I wanted her to be able to take care of me after all. We worked in a very easy way. Plan what I want for her, follow Heartseeker, make a deal, cash the deal. The best part? Since I was now looking for talent and not experience, most people didn't even realize what they were giving. After all, when you live in a city, you have no idea if you have survival talent. It was the same when visiting third world country. How would they know if they had some talents in computer programming or economics if they had yet to even see a computer or a school? And just like that 6 months went by. In this small time frame, Selena had become an existence on which I was totally depending on. She is that awesome. She was now in charge of everything, from the essentials like making food and buying groceries to the more diverse responsibilities. She is my chief of security, my financial advisor. She is in charge of maintaining materials in my warehouse, of taking care of my appointments, etc. But it was not all sunshine and daisies for her at first. She had incredible talent, but she needed to work hard to be at the top. And she learned with almost recklessness. I think realizing the effort she was putting into everything was now bearing fruits motivated her even more. She became a monster, and it's a devil telling you that. And I honestly don't even know how many things she mastered as of today. I just know if I need her to do something, it's just standard to assume she can, especially after the first 4 months. After that, I simply stopped going with her. I gave her a bunch of contracts already linked to her. I wouldn't want someone to steal them. Lend her Heartseeker after adding a function to it that would allow me to retrieve it if it was lost or stolen, and just teleported her where she wanted to go. As for going back, she now had an earring in the form of a monarch butterfly, allowing her to teleport to me whenever she wanted. As for why a butterfly, although the meaning was poetic since after meeting me, she went from the ugly caterpillar to the beautiful butterfly. She was very happy when I gave it to her. To the best of my knowledge, she has yet to take it off. So that's how she started strengthening herself for things she thought I would need, or simply because she wanted to. I told her she could go crazy. I didn't really care as long as she stayed discreet. And I don't regret doing that. She thought of some nice things along the years. She's such a good pole dancer. During that time, I also decided to taught her how to defend herself using magic. So I did my best to give her all my knowledge. She learned faster than me, of course, after taking for herself the magical talent of a big number of individuals. I also wanted to know if taking a human magical reserve would impact her or the human. Turns out it's okay for both. So it became a requirement to include the trade of magical talent and magical reserve in every contract. Honestly, the contractor never cared. After all, they never saw magic before meeting me or Selena. It was a bit frustrating to see her getting much better than me at magic, but I roll with it in the end. She is loyal to me. The contract I signed with her assures me of that. And even without that, she is a bit of a fanatic toward me. Furthermore, I never really cared about being powerful. I only ever wanted to live peacefully. So whether it's because they're afraid of my power or because they don't dare to piss off my maid couldn't matter to me. And thus my vacations were coming to an end. Selena, wake up, young master. You can't sleep too long since we have to take the plane at 11:30. Alexander, 5 more hours. I vaguely remember mumbling. Moving some pancakes next to me. Selena, young master, your breakfast is ready. It's your favorite pancakes. And your cloths are already ironed. Please wake up. You don't want to delay your visit by missing another flight schedule. Alexander, grumble. Selena, here, your good morning kiss. She told me, blushing and kissing me on the mouth. That's right. She got into the habit of waking me up with a morning kiss. According to her, I barely respond if she doesn't do it. I'm doubtful, but I like it, so whatever. Alexander, yawn, all right. Let's get the day rolling. After a nice breakfast, we went to the airport. For the last month of my holidays, I was going to visit South America, starting with Peru. Selena, by the way, young master, I really believe it is time for you to learn to seriously defend yourself. I still don't understand. Why don't you find a way to strengthen yourself? Your 10th birthday is coming soon, and your mother was rather firm. You'll have to go to the birthday party organized for you and your sister, since it will be a good way to meet some other kid your age. She also mentioned news of some importance that will be shared the same day. But for what you told me about devils in general, you should expect trouble from some haughty brats. My presence as your personal maid, despite being a human, won't bring you much goodwill either. Alexander, I already told you it's bothersome. I can't use the contract. I looked for a way to use it on devils, but it would make my essence more chaotic. Chances are I would become way more led by my sins. I don't want to become a beast of violence, greed, and lust. No thank you. As for the party, I know it will be bothersome. But my status as a Gremory will curb the most rash actions, even if I'm a failure. As for your status as a human, I told you I would change you for whatever race you'd want in the future. There's no urgency. I like to look at a Juka devil piece first. Selena, but can't you find something else to become stronger? I saw you creating lots of incredible contraptions since I'm with you. You could certainly create something that would forever stay with you and make you stronger. No? While I hope to always be by your side to help you, I'm alone in the end. I'm not always at your side. And like that for the next 5 days, she relentlessly reminded me that being strong could not be a bad thing. And it was not because I was strong that I would have to fight. But in the end, I relented after a single argument. I was reminded that as a human, any devil that wanted to take her would just have to put a devil piece in her. And once it was done, I could whine as much as I wanted. She would belong to someone else. The only way to stop that would be if the act of taking her wouldn't be worth risking my wrath. And she was worth a lot. So I needed to find something to be considered strong enough that Selena would be left alone. And I had a deadline of 3 months. My birthday coming 2 months after my return. While I liked magic a lot, I was not a prodigy in it. I was knowledgeable, but that's it. I wasn't a magic fighter. My talent was more about theory and magical crafting. So I needed to find a real edge. Something easy to learn and improve, and that didn't need much work. And after thinking about it for a while, I came with what I consider a genius idea. During my musing about the fact I did not have a special trait or magical power, I got reminded of Serord Bale. That devil was another heir that did not inherit the power of his family. He was considered a trash, and yet, by training like a crazy lunatic, he became the stronger devil of his generation. How? By mastering Tuki. Tuki allows you to create a life force aura around your body, strengthening your physical power, stamina, and speed. It also gives you enhanced senses and the capability to interact with magic physically, thus allowing you to punch a magic spell. The problem with that power is that it needed an incredible degree of training or to master the use of a yukai art called senjutsu. I did not want to train, and I didn't have the talent, more like bloodline, to learn senjutsu, so I went in a different way. Couldn't I absorb the life energy in the air like in these Chinese novels? The problem is that I didn't want to spend the next 500 years sitting like a monk absorbing energy in a cave. So I thought of creating a medium that would suck life energy from me in a very fast way. There were only 2 problems. The first problem was about corruption. In the world of DxD, life energy is kind of influenced by the malice and ill will of the world, making the one who use it go wonky in the head if they aren't careful. It's what allegedly happened to Kuroka, the sister of Kaneko. The story said she got crazy with the power of senjutsu and killed her king and several other devils in the vicinity. So I needed to find a way to purify the energy before absorbing it. The second problem was materials and medium. If I wanted to absorb said life energy inside me without a chance for a backlash, my medium needed to be forever embedded in me and close to my skin. Furthermore, the material needed to be of a mythical quality to help me absorb the energy at an incredible fast speed. And thus came the idea of creating my very first magical tattoo. Like most of the time, my main limitation was materials. But this time I really wanted to get this done. It would be the best way for me to become strong without altering myself or having some serious drawbacks. Honestly, I never really understood all those MC that wants to change race. Could I become a dragon, a chimera, or other mythical creature? Sure, but it comes with all the advantage and handicaps. And who wants to become a giant dragon? From what I read, they can take the form of a human, but it's not natural. They simply don't like it that much. So why would I do that to myself? No, for this plan, I needed a material of utmost resistance to be able to take the strain of a super runic formation compacted in the form of a tattoo, almost indestructible actually. Furthermore, the material must be able to have a compatibility with the world as a whole. So something linked to a concept would be the best. I though a phoenix, but their feather are not resistant enough and haven't seen one for 700 years or so. Some incredible metal would not do either since they had no compatibility to life force. I looked for several materials during an entire week and ended up with 3 possible solutions, 2 of which I had no idea where to look for. And so I decided to contact one of the most dangerous existents in the DxD world, Ophis, the Ouroboros dragon, also known as the infinite dragon god. A scale of that thing would totally do the trick. Furthermore, with Ophis' concept being the infinity, it would allow me to store life energy without limit. And since it used to live in the dimensional gap, Ophis scales would be somehow resistant to corruption, and so the purification array linked to the tattoo would work faster. You may be wondering why I talk of it like a thing. That's because Ophis is not a little girl. It doesn't even have a gender from what I read. Apparently, it took that form in the late 700 when some fallen angel told it that by looking like a child, people would do what it want more often. The record are not really clear, but since then, it looked like a little girl. Ophis is more of an established part of the world. The only problem was acquiring such a scale. I know that in the anime, the MC talked to her like she's a kid, and Ophis is okay with it. But there's a reason for which most of the strongest being in this world fear it. From a story I heard, Ophis is super unpredictable. It can be patient, but sometimes would kill someone if he doesn't have what it wants on the spot. And there's a lot of similar story. But I also know it likes cookies and has a very down-to-earth mentality. So if I give him something he wants, he shouldn't bother me more. So I prepared 3 things. The first was a single cookie of utmost quality. This one would be used as the summoning payment. Basically, even if I summoned it for nothing, he would have gotten a cookie, so my life should be spared for not wasting his time. The second was a bag of 100 Ultra Premium Dragon God's special cookies. I would try to trade that bag for the number of scales he's okay with. I had no idea if it valued his shed scales or not, and I was not going to waste an opportunity to have 2 if I could. It would allow me to buff Selena even more. The last thing was a schematic. I had no way to create it without some scales, blood, and bones from Ophis. But it was conceptually a way to create a ring that would boost his wearer of 3% of his total strength. It may sound super lame, but it would work even for something like Ophis. And since that thing has an obsession of becoming stronger to beat his rival the Great Red, then it should work. As for the summoning itself, using Heart Seeker in the ritual, I would be able to send a specific magical pulse at the precise coordinate of Ophis. The pulse would contain the coordinate of my magical summoning ritual. Basically, I sent her a mail with my address saying, "Please come, I'm waiting here." There are variants to forcibly summon people, but these things rarely work on an individual with magic, since they can just cut the flow of magic easily. This is why I was in the middle of nowhere in Peru, drawing a nice summoning ritual on the ground. I told Selena to wait at the hotel, no need to risk her safety. After making the summon, I waited a few seconds, and here it was, in all its lowly glory. It looked like a small girl with very long black hair and a weird exhibitionist getup. Ophis, she was just looking at me without saying a word. It was scary and creepy. Alexander, well met Ophis, Ouroboros dragon. My name is Alexander Gremory. First of all, please accept this offering as thanks for accepting to meet me. I told her, showing the cookie in a plate. Ophis, she looked at the cookie and started to eat it while looking at me. Alexander, I hope for your presence to ask for a trade. If it would be agreeable with you, I'd request for some of your shed scales. Still not a single reaction. I'm willing to give a bag of cookies of the same quality as the one you are eating. I call these cookies Ultra Premium Dragon God Special. Would that be? Okay. Ophis, munch munch. In the end, I decided to wait a bit. Ophis, I want more. Give me. And I gave her my bag of cookies, hoping for the best. After looking at the bag, she simply made a bunch of scales appear. She then looked at me and teleported elsewhere. Scales of a mythical dragon god, get. Honestly, I was happy about how well my encounter with Ophis went, especially since I was hopping for 1 or 2 scales and got 14 of them instead. Let's say I was really happy. With these I could do so much. And so I went in crazy scientist mode and crafted. My holidays were coming to an end, and I wanted for me and Selena to have our tattoo done before going back. I was also going to incorporate a protective array for Selena to prevent race change. Since she mentioned it, I became paranoid that a devil would pop out of nowhere and take her from me. I told Selena that I would need her to tattoo my back and hoped she would be ready for it. Her answer? Selena, young master, don't look down on me. It's part of maid duty to be able to make tattoos if her master asks for one. Of course I can do it. I wasn't really sure it was, and I'm still not, but Selena knows better than me what a maid is supposed to do, so I let it be. So, I first made the tattoo for her. It was better to test it since if something went wrong, I could make changes on the spot. I used powdered dragon god scales, devil blood, mine, and a very old tree sap to make the tattoo ink. Next I draw the runic schematic in the air. It was an ultra-large magic circle, and it took me 6 long hours of concentration to complete it. Then I compacted it and placed it on Selena's back. I then carefully inked the magical model. Once I finished, the lame runic array changed form. I made it so it would take a meaningful form depending on the person's soul. For Selena, it changed into a beautiful phoenix made of red and black with purple eyes. He was also engulfed in black flames. It was really impressive, a work of art. More so since because of the material and the goal of the tattoo, it looked alive. It also moved a bit. I could also feel a connection with it since it was used with my blood. Selena is still extremely happy with it. She always tells me it reminds her she got reborn thanks to her master's dark power. After asking if she was okay, and an entire day of tests, I came to the conclusion I was clearly a genius. She felt stronger than ever, and her body was slowly drinking life essence. The tattoo would not only affect her Tuki, but also slowly improve her body with time. All in all, it worked well. The next day, I went through the procedure again, but this time on me. Selena applied the ink on my back, and once it was completed it morphed into a massive black dragon that seems to protect a 2-winged devil. The dragon is big, like it takes all my back, part of my shoulder and arms, and its tail goes down one of my leg. That kind of big. The devil wear a hood, and his wings are folded behind his back. He has a hammer in a hand and a painting palette in the other. The tattoo would not please Mother. Of that I was sure. But that aside, it was kind of cool. As for the effect, it is just awesome. I couldn't really understand what Selena was trying to convey until I could really feel it myself. But to summarize, it makes you feel energized. And with that, my body would start to strengthen itself by nourishing my bones and muscle in a perpetual manner. The best? No one would detect it unless I choose to release my Tuki. I made sure of it. Since I still had a week before needing to go back, I choose to end my trip by going to Asgard. I wanted to introduce Selena to Brugge, and I wanted to meet Rossweiss to brag about my tattoo. I knew she was going to be ultra jealous since she was smart enough to understand it, and I was not above taunting her for fun. But before that, I quickly asked Frigga if I could invite Selena. I could not bring any Tom, Dick, and Harry after all. She told me that as a landowner, I had the right for 2 retainers, and Brugge was more or less included. So I officially named Selena as my personal maid in front of the Queen of Asgard, and she was good. Was it smart to talk about it? Not really, but it's not like she was going to blabber about it. I trusted her. How wrong and naive I was. I still remember her betrayal like it was yesterday. My coming back was starting fine. I was warmly welcomed by Brugga, and I introduced her to Selena. She was skeptical at first, but the both of them hit it off fine and started to talk about me. She also magically marked her with something that basically said, "I serve Alexander Gremory and live at his home." Kind of like a permanent visa. I learned that the war against the Olympians was postponed because Frigga had beaten some sense into Odin, and he realized he should just squash the puny Loki and the not-so-puny Hades. The search against Loki was not giving much, though. I then went to my house to show Selena around, where I met Frigga, and we talked for a while. She was happy to see me. I realized that she was starting to get fond of me, and honestly, I liked that. She was like the nice grandma I didn't have. And since she was well-learned, I tended to talk a lot about runes and magic in general. She also started to talk about video games. She was rapidly becoming hooked up. I sent a message asking Rosweiss if I could visit the next day, and talked and play with Selena, Brugga, and Frigga the rest of the day. She was living in the outer ring of Asgard, the equivalent of the countryside of the realm. When I went to see Rosweiss, I noticed she was greatly happy to see me. I did remember she didn't have a lot of friends. Scratch that, she didn't have any friend. So no wonder really. Rosweiss, Alex, how was your travel? Did you found the hidden ruins I talked to you about in Ireland? Did you visit the Maya temples? How was your new house in Japan? Have you met Yasaka-sama? Have you tried to improve the magical circle we made together? Did you? Gondol, enough Rosweiss. Can't you see you don't even leave the lad time to answer your questions? Asked a stern grandma, getting out of her house. Rosweiss, right, sorry Alex. Alexander, no problem Ross. It's always nice to be greeted so enthusiastically. First let's do the presentation. Rosweiss, allow me to present you Selena, my maid. Selena, this is my good friend Rosweiss, and the one who I believe to be her grandmother, Valkyrie Gondol. I said, making Rosweiss aware of Selena, and squinting her eyes looking at her. Gondol, and you'd be right, lad. You are welcome to our home as long as you keep your manners, she said sternly. Alexander, of course Valkyrie Gondol, I said, making a polite bow. Rosweiss, all right, come on. You need to tell me about your travels. You also said you had something amazing to show me, she said, dragging me to her house. In the end, it was a pleasant afternoon. We talked a lot about my travels, magic, and various other topics. Her grandmother stayed for a bit before deciding I was not going to burn her house or something and went back to her room. I had felt some tension between Selena and Rosweiss, but nothing big. Some kind of standard rivalry between pretty teenagers? Not sure. In the end, I told her I had something awesome to show her and asked if I could show it somewhere private. I did not really want her grandmother to learn of it. She ended up leading me alone to her bedroom, blushing along the way, saying that Selena didn't have to come since it was private. Her room was neat and tidy. I didn't expect anything less from her, to be frank. A few bookshelves filled with various magical theory books, and a desk stacked with papers filled of various magical circles were the only furnitures aside the bed. The only feminine touch in room was the few dolls on the bed and a cute piggy bank. She sat me on the chair and took place on the bed, and then asked me what it is I wanted to show her. Without any word, I started to undress my shirt. It was just too funny to see her get completely red and staggering. Rosweiss, we think you're doing? Shameless. We're too young for this yet. Alexander, too young for what? I just wanted to show you my back. What are you talking about? I couldn't help it, but I just needed to tease her. She then tried to explain herself. It was kind of cute. Alexander, whatever, look at my back. Isn't it awesome? I said, showing my back proudly. Rosweiss, what have you done? She yelled at me. Alexander, calm down. It's a magical construct. Use the revealing spell we made to look. And so she did. She was completely stumped by the absurdity of what I did. I had to explain to her some part, but using a variety of a scanning spell we made, she was able to get the gist of most of it. I did ask her to keep it to herself before explaining, though. It clearly opened her eyes, and I could see some greed there. But it was mostly because she loved magic, and what I did, what a freaking impressive piece of magic. In the end, I told her how I came to create this, and when she asked about the materials, well, I lied, of course. I told her I found some incredibly valuable scales during my travels. I even gifted her one, telling her she could use it as an anchor for a protection array of great power. She was really thankful, and I even got a kiss on the cheek for it. Ending my tale, I also mentioned I tested it on Selena, and that's where the shit hit the fan. Rias got suddenly extremely unhappy, and her attitude did a 180. She started telling me what I did was stupid and unreasonable. Yeah, right. She was gushing about it 5 minutes prior. She said I should have asked her first since she knew more about magic than a human made without magical education. When she tried to make me promise to never do something like that again without someone like her to help and supervise, I told her that Selena was good enough. That was apparently not the right answer. In the end, my visit was cut short since she decided that she didn't want to speak to me anymore this day. I should have known things would not stop at that when she still had a vindictive look as we said our goodbyes. The next day, Frigga seemed furious when I saw her in the living room. I learned quickly why. Rias had snitched on me about taking a tattoo, not about the fact it was a runic formation at least. And Frigga started to rant at me about how it was irresponsible, something only Thug did, as if even her husband had tattoos, and blah blah blah. The worst of all, Frigga had sent an official letter to the Gremory family, in which she basically ranted about the fact that my parent didn't supervise me enough since I had the liberty to take such a big tattoo, without any adult being there to stop me. That's when I realized these guardians were traitors. This is why when I came back home, my mother was unhappy. She ordered me to show my back before even saying hello. And to say she was furious was a big understatement. Despite me trying to say it was my sin of envy that got the better of me, it did not work to assuage her. She clearly was not a fool and knew very well it was something like a whim of mine. Not that I was going to explain what it truly did. In the end, I was grounded until Rias and my birthday party, so around a month. Once my mother finished ranting, she finally realized I was not alone and wondered what a human was doing here. And thus, I ended up introducing Selena to everyone for the first time. Father was not happy that I took the liberty to find a human retainer, but relented when I told him she was a magician and was pretty powerful. Mother, though it was a good thing, I had a servant that would not forget their duties when it came to me. As for Rias, she didn't even bother with the fact she was MY maid and asked her if she wanted to join her peerage. She told her she would be much better with her than with me, heavily hinting I was just a failure. It was nice to see the look of pure loathing Selena gave her. She didn't even bother answering her and simply ignored her after giving her a haughty sniff, much to my amusement. Surzex was not happy with that, but even he realized that poaching your brother's servant in front of him was just rude. I'm pretty sure Rias would convince her with time, though. As for Grafia, she was stoic, but I could see she was not happy at all. Even more when I started to praise Selena as the perfect maid. I gushed even more about the quality of the food she could cook. Well, I'm the one who taught her after all. As a petty revenge, Rias asked for my maid to be banned from seeing me, since I was grounded, and it was clear we had a good relationship. Selena looked at her like she was lower than a flea and just told her, Selena, and why should I care about your family needs and wants? I don't serve the Gremory, only the young master. I couldn't care less if your father himself banned me from seeing him. I would just give a formal complaint to Lady Leviathan and Queen Frigga telling them you are sequestering a member of Asgard and preventing his retinue to do their job. Rias just looked at her with an open mouth, not knowing what to say. Father, on the other hand, started to realize that my double nationality may be more problematic than he first thought. Alexander, it's okay, Selena. Don't mind Rias. She doesn't tend to think much before she acts. Just ignore her like you did before. As for my punishment, I'm cool with it. It's true that getting a tattoo is not the kind of thing a 9-year-old is supposed to do, and Mother just want me to reflect upon my actions. You can, of course, continue to serve me as usual irrespective of my confinement. I'm just punished, not put in jail. With that, the discussion on the matter ended, much to my father's consternation, who clearly did not appreciate his opinion not being asked for. But what could he do? And just like that, my days of solitude started. Alexander, Selena, I'm bored. Selena, it's only been a day, young master. Alexander, I know, but I'm still bored. There's nothing much to do in my room, and I already know all the books here. Selena, Do you want me to bring you a TV or your computer? I could also look for some interesting books. Alexander, no, it's the room. After a year running around with you, it's just boring here. Selena, you did spend several consecutive days in your workshop, though, and several times. Alexander, but that's when I have a project. Selena, then look for a new one. Alexander, say, do you want a sacred gear? Selena, if you wish to give me one, I will take it. I won't say no to more power to serve you better. Alexander, what kind of sacred gear would you like then? Selena, what about the ability to make barriers? Would that be possible? Alexander, barriers? Can't you already create barriers with magic? Selena, yes, but I heard that sacred gears tend to align with the possessor wish to grant more power. And since I want this ability to protect us from harm, it should be powerful. Furthermore, a sacred gear focused on creating barrier should be more flexible than what I can do, and should also help in protecting and warding your estates. Alexander, well, I don't know where a barrier-type sacred gear can be found. But it's not really what you would want. It's focused on permanent ward only. The shape is not really flexible, and there are some big drawbacks. It would be better to simply create one from scratch. The problem is that I have no idea how to do that. Sacred gear creation is a bit too much for now, since I have no idea how it was made. That's when I decided to copy Azazel's notes on sacred gears. But for that I needed a nice spine device, and since I was confined in my room, I thought of creating the peeping crystal ball of the fourth Hokage. It would be perfect to spy on the Gremory leader, and I could use it to entertain myself until my birthday. The creation of such a device wouldn't be too difficult. The materials, however, to have the best quality, I would need a Greek Sibyl eyeball, some centaur's horsehair, and a crystal skull. Even thinking about it now, I can only sight. Getting some centaur's horsehair would be easy. Just go in their community in Greece and trade some berries or food stuff, and they would be happy. The crystal skull could just be liberated from a museum or a collector who could not appreciate its true value. The real problem was the eyeball from a Greek Sibyl. First of all, no one is okay with giving his eyeball. Second, the Greek Sibyls are pretty secluded in our time and are protected by the Greek gods. The best thing I could do was poach it without no one the wiser. But for that I needed a replacement eyeball. So I did just that. Using Selena as my delivery girl, I got a normal eyeball, didn't ask where it came from, and various stuff. I created an eyeball that once put in someone's skull would replace the previous eyeball, taking the eye color as well as adjusting to the previous eye vision. While I was creating this, Selena went to do whatever she does when I'm crafting. It's only when I finished my work that I realized there was a crystal skull and centaur's horsehair on my desk. When asked why was this here, Selena simply told me, Selena, young master, it's a maid duty to provide her master easy-found materials to allow him to concentrate on more important tasks. Once again, I have my doubts, but well, who cares as long as she's happy? After that, I gave the eyeball to Selena and taught her how to use it. I also provided her a hand of glory. Once you give the hand a candle, the tool will provide light only to the one holding the hand. What people don't know is that holding the hand also protects you against divination and godly vision if you replace the candle by some ebony. And just like that, I sent Selena, telling her to be extra careful, of course. She just needed to find a Sibyl, put her into a magical coma, take her eye, and replace the eye. She'll never know it, and it would never impact her life. It would be a full 28 hours later that I would see Selena again, smiling, proud, and with my last component. Yeah, I was definitely going to make her the best sacred gear ever. Whatever people believe, the best crafter was me, not the big guy. He just had 5,000 years of head start. Alexander, ta-da, I said, showing the crystal skull with an ethereal eye inside, looking around creepily. Selena, well done, young master, as expected of you. She said with so much pride that you'd think she's the one who made it. I do hope you won't use it to spy on woman bathing, though. Alexander, why would I do that, Selena? Since even clothed, you're more beautiful than all the women in the world. I told her completely shamelessly. And my compliment worked since I got a big smile in return and a bigger blush with it. She's really the best maid ever. Alexander, now let's blatantly spy on that perverted fallen. Activating the crystal skull named Tom. He is the peeping Tom after all, simultaneously with Heartseeker allowed me to finally observe Azazel, Governor General of the Fallen Angels and leader of Gregory, in his lab. It was interesting to note that the moment I saw him, he reacted and looked around him. He really had a good intuition. In the end, he cast a few detection spells and relaxed again. His lab was pretty organized as a whole, but his working bench was full of notes with no notable organization. He had a few porn books on the side, too, and the poster harboring the wall were not PG. In the end, what I expected, but suddenly 5 fallen angels rushed in, all armed, and seemed to cast restlessly detection and divination spells. That's when I realized he was good. He must have sent a message to some of his people because he realized I was spying. Realizing I won't be able to spy on him, I decided to have a bit of fun. I took my phone and called someone I never contacted since she gave me her number, Sarah Fall. Alexander, hello, Lady Leviathan. This is Alexander Gremory speaking. Sarah Fall. Alex Cohen. Yay. How are you? I really want to thank you for your last gift. I'm in the process of improving our relationship with the Greeks thanks to it. Alexander, good for you. But I'm in need of your help really quick. Do you have Azazel's personal phone number? If so, can you give it to me? Sarah Fall. Azazel? Like the Azazel, the Governor General of the Fallen Angels? I'm not sure this is a good idea, Alex. Despite the image he projected in the last 400 years, he is pretty dangerous. And I'm not sure I can explain why I gave his personal number to, I'm sorry to tell you, a nobody. Why do you need his number for anyway? If you need something, I'm sure I can help. Alexander. First, you don't need to tell him you gave his number since I will only text him anonymously. As for why, it's a secret. But if you don't want to give it to me, it's okay. I'll just ask Queen Frigga. I just ought to ask you first since I remember you taking steps to become my lover. I said jokingly. The message couldn't be more clear, though. Give it to me now, or I'll just ask my friends in Asgard. Losing freebies she could gain easily. Sarah Fall. Moo. You're no fun, Alex Cohen. His number is XXXXXXXXXX. And please be careful with him. He really is dangerous. I wouldn't want to lose a potential fiancé, after all. Alexander. Don't worry, I'm not doing anything bad. See you next month. Actually, are you coming to my birthday party? I have yet to see the list of invitation. Sarah Fall. Yes, I'll be there. As you know, I'm the underworld's head diplomat, and despite being a devil, you are also an Asgardian, so I can't not be there. This is why your introduction to the devils is all the more important. So see you soon, Alex Cohen. Alexander. Bye. And thank you, Lady Leviathan. Alexander. Hee. Let's have some fun now, Selena. Selena. Please don't cause too much trouble, young master. Boredom does not justify creating mayhem. Alexander. Nah, just trolling a bit. While talking, I could see Azazel and the Fallen still looking around like headless chickens. It was funny. Azazel was looking frustrated, though. One thing to understand is that crafting also bleeds in programming, and so I was a very gifted programmer. This is why I took the time to improve the security level of my OS and connection during my travels. My computer and my mobile were incredibly secured. I also mixed a bit of magic to create a proxy that would always lead in the middle or the Arctic. This is why I was not afraid of being found out. VRR. I could see, though, Tom, that everyone was looking at Azazel. Taking and reading his phone, he was surprised from what he read. After getting his interest, he started to write back. Anonymous. Asterisk Yope. I admit your intuition is scary. I never thought you'd find out I was spying. But could you please go back to work? I can't really spy on your work if you keep looking for me now, can I? So, go back to work pretty please. Asterisk. Azazel. Asterisk, aren't you a cheeky bastard? If anything, you've got balls. I guess it would be too much to ask what information you want to steal from me. Asterisk. Anonymous. Asterisk, I'm interested in your work on sacred gears. I'm pretty bored and an important person of mine want one, so I decided to create one from scratch to be perfectly compatible with her. For all. Asterisk. I could see Azazel looking speechless. Azazel. Asterisk, I was not expecting you to really tell me, if what you say is the truth anyway. And you do realize that no one ever made a sacred gear as of now. You think you can just create one on a whim? Asterisk. Anonymous. Asterisk, so what? I just need to be the first, right? I'm the best at what I do after all, for all. Just because others are no good doesn't mean I am too. I just lack the basics. And while I could steal information directly from the system in heaven, it seems too troublesome since Michael is paranoid about the system since the big guy's gone. Asterisk. Azazel was once again shocked looking at his phone. As for me, I was having fun. Azazel. Asterisk, you know about that? Who are you? Asterisk. Anonymous. Asterisk, really? You think a guy that calls you with a hidden number would give you his name? You can call me Azazel_sucks / dot asterisk. Tom's definition was good enough to see Azazel twitching, truly a work of art. Azazel, you do realize that when I find who you are, there will be some payback, right? Azazel_sucks. Asterisk, you know what? Let's make it a game. From what I heard, your biggest rival in term of innovation is a Juka, right? I'll go and spy on him in a minute. If he's as good as you, he should realize something is wrong and react a bit like you. I'll text him and give him a challenge. If he find me before you, nothing happens to you. But if you find me before, if one of you even find me, I'll give you a minor boon. Degree asterisk. Azazel. And what makes you think whatever boon you could give me, I can't do it myself? I could see he was truly curious. The thing was, what could I give him? And then it struck me. Azazel_sucks. If I can spy on you in your lab, what makes you think I can't spy on Gabriel when she's in her underwear or in the shower, or whatever angels use to get clean? Omega. I do remember a very cold gaze focused on me when I wrote that, but choose to simply ignore it. After all, there was no chance for him to find me. Azazel. Asterisk, I'm truly wondering if you could do that. This is why, as a purely scientific curiosity, I will find you and force you to use whatever you use on Gabriel, just to see if it work. Asterisk. Azazel_sucks. Asterisk, alrighty then. The game is on. And because you seem fun, you can call me the red_troll from now on. See you soon, loser. Asterisk. And just like that, I was happy. What is smart? Clearly not. But I was really bored and I was pretty secure here. Worst come to worst, I would get a slap on the wrist for annoying an enemy leader. Like I give a shit anyway. Next was having fun with a Juka. The moment I focused Tom on a Juka, he reacted super aggressively, throwing spells all around and putting some kind of lockdown spells. He was good too. Let's never underestimate one of the top 10 most powerful being ever. Well, I'm saying that, but I still taunted him. Though I went in a more fun way since he seemed a bit spooked out. Anonymous, asterisk, greeting. You've been chosen against your will to participate in a contest, putting you against the big bad crow, Azazel himself. Woohoo, greater than over equal to less than over equal to. What the heaven is this about, you must be thinking. No worries, let me explain. By realizing something was wrong and someone was spying on you, you prove you are not a loser. Yay! This is why you are now in a competition to find out if you'll track down the completely awesome dude having his kick watching you before your competitor. A special prize will be given to the winner, aside the glorious honor to call me by my given name and earning my respect. Ignoring the competition is possible, but Azazel will be declared the winner and thus gain the prize and the right to talk to you with scorn and derision for being a total loser. Your new friend, red_troll, asterisk. His face was priceless, and I kept a nice picture of it, of course. Once I was done with my fun for a while, I decided to send Seraphal a nice strawberry cake. I sent a message with it hoping she would cooperate. Good day, Lady Leviathan. Thank you for helping me in a time of grand distress. Unbeknown to you, it might even have saved the world. The butterfly effect says it's possible. That being said, I hope I can trust you to not tell anyone, especially Lord Beelzebub, about my little inquiry. While I know he is your friend, he's now in a friendly competition with Lord Azazel, trying to find my identity. You helping him will be totally unfair. On a completely unrelated note, you will found with this letter a high-quality cake baked by yours truly. It is clearly not a bribe for your silence, since I can feel we are becoming friends. And again, on a completely unrelated note, friends keeps each other's secrets, right? Best regards, Alexander Gremory. I was not really scared that she would tell a Juka, to be honest. Worst case, I would get a tap on the wrist. A Juka did give me his number, and I wasn't rude. I can just say it's you stupidity. I'm a devil kid, and I heard of various air doing much worse than sending prank phone calls. During the next following weeks, I kept activating Tom at a regular interval to keep a Juka and Azazel on their toes. Of course, I would also send them texts to inform them about the total lack of result of their pitiful competitor attempts to find the great me. While I could see a bit of frustration while spying on them, I was also happy to see they realized I was truly playing with them, if the way they were answering me was any indication. In the end, I created a special app just for communicating with the both of them. The hard thing was hacking their phones to install it without their knowledge. I was once again greatly happy when I told them to execute the installed app, Red Troll and his chums, since it would help communicate more simply. Both of them kept insulting me, good-naturedly, about finding a way to hack their phone without their notice. It led to a conversation between Azazel and Ajuka trading hints, social profile, magic signature, and various other stuff they collected to found me. The amount of clues they found was impressive. I did told them they were on the right track, and I was clearly impressed though. After that, we ended up talking about various stuff. I helped them both with their magical network security. I had nothing better to do, to be honest, and I kept taunting them, of course. I had the best fun by reminding them how awesome I was to be responsible for Satan and the Gregory leader needing to team up to found about me. It did lead to a discussion about the Cold War and the fact that both of them couldn't care less about it. They even surprised me by saying that honestly they hoped for a peace treaty at some point. When I pointed out that telling me this was dangerous since I could be with a pro-supernatural faction, they simply laughed and told me they realized I was, like my namesake said, just a troll and was not the kind to look for trouble. To be honest, I was doubtful about that at first. Could they have really profiled me that much with our discussions? It's then that I realized that yes, they could have thought I did give my opinion on various matters after all. At some point, I just told them I would only spy on them if they asked to find out clues, but I realized they kind of stopped looking actively and seemed happy with just gaining a new acquaintance. Since I was getting bored again, I asked them if they needed help on a project or something. That one they asked what was I good at, and I simply told them everything. Not believing it all and wanting to curb my ego, they told me as a jest to mess up the system if I was so good. And so I had a new goal. The system, to oversimplify, is a kind of computer whose program determines what causes harm to devils who come into contact with blessed objects, provides miracles, supervises sacred gears, and determines who goes to heaven or hell. It's more or less the legacy of the big guy. It's also known to be at the 7th layer of heaven. To be honest, it wasn't that challenging. It would be kind of hard, of course, but not the level I would have expected. First, I needed to make a diversion so that Michael would not be at the system when I would make a change. If Ajuka and Azazel could feel Tom spying on them, he would too. Next, I needed to find a way to physically connect to the system, which is located in heaven, a place where a devil has nothing to do. The good thing, though, is that contrary to popular belief, heaven itself does not reject devils. Being there won't kill me or anything, but it would still leave some lingering corruption. So I created some kind of universal cross-space Ethernet cable. Roughly, I would be able to connect an end of the cable to any entry I could see, though, Tom. The most hard part was allowing the device to cross space, irrelevant of defenses, wards, or environment. I finished the tool 2 days before my birthday. As for the diversion, I simply asked Selena to use Tom at the time every day on Gabriel. Why her? Because Michael would protect her if something happens. So, by making it look like someone was trying to do something at a precise time, he would there. And so, the day before my official introduction in the underworld, I acted. The plan went on without a hitch. The moment I intended to do my mischief, I started spying on Gabriel with Tom. No less than 30 seconds later, Michael was with her, looking around, trying to find out who was looking at her. As soon as Michael was present, I quickly stopped and switched target to the system. The moment I saw it, I used my new cable to connect my specially crafted console to it, and as soon as it was done, I tasked Selena to use Tom on Michael and Gabriel to keep their attention. Once I was connected, I realized my mistake. The programming language used was extremely complex. It was just crazy complex and encompassing. That's the moment I understood why the big guy was called a genius. At first, I intended to put some backdoors and create a few things, but after my first contact, I threw the idea to the pigs. I simply did not have the time to understand the language enough to program anything. So instead, I thought of a delightful idea. If I can't create something, I would just copy-paste an existing entry with a name alteration. It took me roughly an hour, during which Selena kept tickling the angel's senses, but I implemented my idea. It was surprisingly easy once I thought about it, and pretty benign. But if after that Ajuka and Azazel had still considered me a braggart only, then I don't know what could have convinced them otherwise. As soon as my upgrade to the system was done, I took my cross-space Ethernet cable back and readied myself for my grandiose moment. red_troll. Asterisk peasants, I demand your attention. This fine day, I decided to let you bask in my awesome glory by sharing my latest deed. Rejoice! Asterisk. Zaz 69. Asterisk, really? You better have something impressive to tell after such an introduction, asterisk. The Devil Brain. I hope that this is not about you stealing another one of Zotzi's porn book. Zaz 69. Asterisk impossible. This time I'm sure he won't be able to steal them. I completely changed my security system. Asterisk. The Devil Brain. You said the same thing last time. red_troll. Asterisk no. Today, it is not about the possible theft of a sexually frustrated fallen's prized possession. No. Today I respond to a taunt you sent my way several days ago. Asterisk. Zaz 69. Seeing as we keep taunting each other, it doesn't really help. red_troll. Before I explain myself, I need our favorite devil to show himself on the cam with the sound. The Devil Brain. Asterisk go? Is this about me? Alright, I am intrigued. Wait a sec, asterisk. As soon as Ajuka face was shown on the app, one texted my next message. red_troll. Asterisk, I have a question for you, Ajuka Beelzebub, self-proclaimed smartest devil of the underworld. What is the moniker used by the antagonist of the Harry Potter's books, the so-called you-know-who? Asterisk. Ajuka. I don't really get it, but I'll bite. His name is Voldemort, ouch. Then I could see his incomprehension at what happened. Zaz 69. Asterisk, I don't get it. What happened? Ajuka. That's just not possible. Voldemort. Flinch Voldemort. Flinch Voldemort. Flinch. All right. I don't understand how you did that. It's almost like... Wait. It's at that moment I got the face I wanted. I could see his utterly dumbfounded expression, a mix of disbelief and a bit of fear maybe. Of course, his face being so priceless. I instantly snapped it and saved it in my Powerful People with Stupid Expressions folder. Zaz 69. Asterisk, I still don't get it, Red. What's happening? Why is Ajuka looking like an idiot? red_troll. Asterisk, this my elderly minion. Is me being too impressive? I took your challenge, won, and now stand proud and victorious. As it should be. Asterisk. Zaz 69. Asterisk, all right. I can see that you must have done something crazy just by looking at Ajuka, but can I have some details? So that I can be awed by your magnificence, my lord. Asterisk. The Devil Brain. Asterisk, I can't believe it. You really went and tinkered with it? Worse, you did something so dumb. Let me tell you what he did. red_troll modified the system, and now, when I say whose moniker, it acts as if I said the big guy name. If I understand this right, devils won't be able to say his name anymore. Asterisk. The 69, red_troll. Asterisk, that's right. I put a taboo on the Dark Lord's name using the system. Moi. Bow to me, pathetic immortals. Worship my name. Red. Troll. Red. Troll. Red. Troll. Red. Troll. Asterisk. The 69, The Devil Brain. Zaz 69. Asterisk, I've just reassessed your level of danger and craziness. I'm happy that you just feel like a lazy bum with no aspiration in life aside being a dick. If someone like you decided to incite war, asterisk. The Devil Brain. Asterisk, you have even scarier thought, access to the system, and apparently you even have enough knowledge to tinker with it, and you decide to put a taboo on the name of the villain of a kid book? I'm also happy that you're not a power-hungry battle maniac. Asterisk. red_troll. Asterisk, it is good that you finally acknowledge me as your superior in your heart of heart. I'm happy you finally reached illumination and discovered the truth of life. I'm the best. Zaz 69, Sir. The Devil Brain, no comment. red_troll. Asterisk, so what's the next challenge? Because unlike you, I need a new one, cause you still haven't found out who I am. Oh wait, my servant is calling me. I'm having a victory meal apparently. Not that you'd know what that is. Ciao, losers. The next day was the start of my birthday party. I was more or less ambivalent about how to feel. On one side, it would be the occasion to meet the future generation and thus some future leaders and customers. So a good way to make some contacts. But on the other side, I would have to meet the dregs of the underworld. And by this, I do not mean the poor or the ones living in the slum of the capital, Lilith. No, I'm talking about the heirs that thinks of themselves above all overs. The one that would look down on me and insult me just because I did not master the power of destruction. I knew they would be kids, but still, getting despised and insulted is never a good feeling. But I decided to go there with the objective of being the better person. I would ignore them and prove myself of great character. That was the plan. And as they say, the plan never survived the encounter. Stupid Murphy Law and all that. Anyway, Selena and Mother forced me to try clothes until they found something nice enough. It was some kind of 16th century suit or something in some somber green. It goes well with my eyes and hair, apparently. I even had to wear one of those stupid white foulard. What I do to please them sometimes. Once my dolling was finished, I had to wait alone in some room with Rias since we could not come with the other guests. It would be considered gauche. We were meant to have a grand entrance. So we had some small talk in which she explained she would use this party to find her true love or something, not that anyone would give me a chance since I was a loser. I couldn't wait to hear about the news of hers and Riser's engagement. It might be petty, but I was really anticipating her despairing face. I was honestly wondering how Riser was in real life. He is actually rarely shown in the story, and we only have the picture depicted by Rias and Surzex. Not some truly objective people here. It also made me realize that Rias had power over time. What should have been like half an hour felt like 2 eternity. She was that good at boring someone to death. Then Selena came and finally told me it was time. We descended the stairs from the first floor so that everyone could look at us. I decided to let Rias take the lead. This way people would bother me less. What surprised me were some faces I recognized in the guests, especially Rosweiss and her grandmother Gondel. I could also see Ajuka surrounded by a bunch of fans or bootlickers accompanying Seraphol. Weird. That's what I thought at the time, since I saw no reason for him to be here. Several adults were also present, but were mingling amongst themselves in the background. Rias, hello and welcome to the Gremory Manor. I wish to thank you all for coming to my birthday party tonight to celebrate my 10th anniversary. I hope you'll all have a nice evening, she said while doing a nice bow. The fact she completely ignored that it was also mine was not ignored if looking at the people's face was an indication. Not that I care that much. Alexander, good evening guest from the underworld in Asgard. Unlike my sister, I had yet to formally introduce myself to the finest of our society for various reasons. So using this occasion, let me do just that. My name is Alexander Gremory, second son of Lord Gremory. I will also directly confirm that I am not the heir, since I neither possess the Bale power of destruction nor the Gremory power of luck. As some of you have already heard, I was also personally granted citizenship of Asgard by King Odin Allfather, and must thus also be considered an Asgardian. Please take it into account during our future interactions. All this being said, I want to especially thank Lady Leviathan and Lord Beelzebub for granting us their presence to this event, and I wish you all a good evening. At least with that, the leeches would leave me alone, and the cocky young masters would think twice before being little bitches. Well, the one that could understand subtlety at least. As for the idiots, never mind them. I did see some adults looking at me weirdly. What did they expect? That I was going to fake being the heir or something. Once my greeting was done, I went directly to greet the 2 Satans. Even if I didn't really care about the high society in general, it didn't mean I was dumb enough to ignore my manners in front of the overpowered devils. My sister was not that smart since she went straight to her friend Sona, much to the chagrin of mother and father. Alexander, Lady Leviathan, Lord Beelzebub, you honor my sister and I by your presence. I have to say that while I expected Lady Leviathan since she told me this much during one of our exchange, I am surprised by you being here, my lord. Was there a problem with the manual I gave you last time, perhaps? Seraphol, Alex Kun, aren't you super cute with those clothes? Trying to impress me, are you? Alexander, isn't this a given, my lady? Is there even a devil that doesn't try to be at his best when he knows you will be present? You know very well your beauty is only overshadowed by your personality, making you clearly the most sought maiden in the underworld. My praise did earn me a big smile and a kiss on the cheek, to the surprise of many of the ass-kissers. Ajuka, Yach, still the charmer I see, kiddo. And to answer your question, I'm here to discuss with your father about giving you your devil pieces. Since I needed to come anyway, I decided to come today to up the level of this party. It's your first appearance after all, and you made quite the impression last time we met. As for your manual, I have no complaint. It was actually very well written. Alexander, thanks again then. I wish you again a good evening. Now if you excuse me, I have a bunch of parasites and waste of air to greet. After saying my goodbyes, I went to Rosweiss and Gondel. To be honest, I was still a bit put out about her being the cause of my grounding. I know that at some point Mother would have discovered it and punished me, but I hoped for it to be later, at a time where I could ignore the consequences. I intended to make her squirm a bit for it. After all, she was still young and immature, and I was petty. Alexander, Valkyrie Gondel, it's a pleasure to see you tonight. I'm honored you took the time to travel to the underworld to partake in this celebration. It's also nice to see that the relationship between Asgard and the underworld has warmed up enough that you could do the trip. I said politely. Oh, and hi to you too. I said in a totally dismissive manner, barely looking at Rosweiss. It did raise Gondel eyebrow and made Rosweiss looking unsure. Gondel, it's all right, lad. Our queen wanted to come, but her condition did not really allow it, as you know, and I was chosen as a replacement along my granddaughter. As for the relationship, it's not as good as you may think. You're the only devil Asgard is really in contact with. The Leviathan's gal tried her best to milk the opportunity to gain some goodwill, or even an opportunity of an improved communication between our pantheon, but the underworld as a whole is still full of distasteful individuals in his leadership. Rosweiss hum. Hi, Alexa. Alexander. Indeed, I can't say the true power leading our community is all of sunshine and rainbow, but at least the new Satan tries to improve things. If anything, I think that Lady Leviathan does an impressive work and is reliable. If anything, she's not a betrayer or a BACKSD at BVR. She looked at me weirdly when I abruptly cut Rosweiss, but I could see she wouldn't say more. She did give a side glance when I heavily implied about her betraying me. Rosweiss, please, Alexander, Alexander. After all, there's nothing more disgusting than backstabber. Wouldn't you say so, Valkyrie Gondel? At that point, Gondel simply deadpanned and decided to ignore me and went elsewhere, saying something along the line of annoying teenagers. Seeing her going, I decided to do the same. I intended to let Rosweiss suffer a bit after all. I was not going to simply forgive her like that. Humph. Rosweiss. Wait, Alexander. Wait, I'm coming with you. In the end, Rosweiss decided to silently follow me until I decided to acknowledge her presence. And while I was saying platitudes to various people, I was also trying to find a place to go and hide. That's when I heard the commotion a bit further. What is a disgusting trash like you doing here? Did the Gremory even bother giving you an invitation? The offensive kid had blue hair and a rat-like face, in my unbiased opinion, with squinting eyes. I recognized him the instant I saw him. It was none other than Diodora Astaroth, the heir of the Astaroth family, as well as Ajuka's cousin. I could almost smell the malice around the little shit, and I couldn't help myself from smiling when I saw who he was insulting. My maternal cousin, Saror Bale. The guy was around my age, but was already showing a muscular build. Good thing a devil constitution was so different from a human, or else he'll have to suffer as he grow older with that kind of body, so young. He was a training maniac and will be considered a monster in the future because of his mastery over Tuki. I could see he didn't seem very annoyed and choose to ignore him. Must not have been the first time he was insulted like that. Keisha Abaddon, however, was much less passive. Not a surprise since she was his queen. Keisha, who do you think you're talking to Lord Sarorg like that? Diodora. Pathetic. You can't even recognize the heir of the Astaroth clan? No wonder you are associated with that loser. Beggars can't be choosers after all. The fact that many young devil around were laughing was depressing. I decided to intervene since he was ruining my mood. Alexander. Hello, everyone. Is there a problem? I asked politely. Keisha, Heir Astaroth decided to insult my king without any provocation and questioned his right to be here. She told me furiously. Alexander, well, no need to get upset over a dog barking. As for the invitation, I can confirm it's legitimate. I was the one who insisted for him to be invited. After all, a talent like him is someone who should be suff after, don't you think, Lady Abaddon? Silence. It was just a light insult. No need to make it bigger than it is. The fact that everyone was now looking here because of the lack of noise was just ridiculous. Diodora, you dare? He asked calmly. Alexander, dare what? I asked, tilting my head to the side. Diodora, do you even know who you are calling a dog? I am Diodora Astaroth, heir of the Astaroth family. I wonder what will be your reaction now that you know your blunder. He said with a self-satisfied smirk. I have to say I was honestly perplexed. What was he expecting really? Alexander, I honestly don't get it. Didn't I just insult you like you did toward my guest? What's the big deal? Are you a dumbass? In deciding to ignore him, I went to my cousin. Alexander, hello trash of the Bale clan. The moment I said that, the silence occurred again. I'm pretty sure Ophis would love me for creating silence so easily. My name is Alexander Gremory, the garbage of the Gremory clan. Nice meeting you. And like that, offer my hand for a handshake. I could see he was honestly surprised, but took it like I meant it, as a joke. Sarorg, ahaha, nice to meet you indeed, garbage of the Gremory clan, he said with a big smile while taking my hand. And just like that, I started what would become a long-lasted friendship. Diodora, I do not appreciate being ignored, he said, trying to sound menacingly. He really was young. Nothing like the two-faced bastard he would become in the following years. Alexander, sight, what do you want exactly? I understand that you are important and all that since you're an heir of one of the 72 Pillar family. But I would also remind you, it is common etiquette for an heir or a lord to stay polite in the home of someone who invited you. The fact that you insulted my guest like a common peasant from the street makes me doubt the veracity of your claim as the heir Astaroth. A great house, such as them, would have taught, at the very least, basic manners to the heir, the same manners even an uncultured human would know. Or are you just too stupid to remember said manners? Take that, scum. I could already see the young devil that didn't really know him starting to doubt him. Diodora, of course I'm the heir. Just ask Ajuka Beelzebub. He's my cousin, he said with an ounce of superiority. Alexander, there's just so many wrong things here, I do not know where to start. First of all, whether your statement is true or not, you know well that no one will bother Lord Beelzebub to verify such an insignificant piece of information. Honestly, he certainly would. I could totally see him spying on our conversation thanks to my boosted senses, Tukey for the win, as well as many of the adults around him, by the way, which made me doubt you even more. I can do it too, you know. I would like to tell everyone here that I am the reincarnation of the big guy. If you don't believe me, just go and ask Michael. He's my son. That did get some laugh, and the kids were starting to get slowly separate from him. Furthermore, you call him your cousin. Fool, do you have no idea about the implication of saying that in public? Just to remind your pathetic little brain of our laws. After the end of the Civil War, it was decided that no Satan would ever have any family ties anymore. This was decided to prevent the abuse and favoritism that led to the war in the first place. So if you really were the Astaroth heir, as you claim to be, you saying this in the present company could be taken as Ajuka Beelzebub acknowledged you as his family, and thus is rebelling against our law. Of course, no sane heir would say that. So you're clearly delusional. Come on, people, let's leave the poor kid alone. He clearly needs some rest. What I said was, of course, some bullshit. As if Ajuka cared about Diodora calling him cousin. But who cares? This is a political field for the kids, so no adult would intervene. And in politics, the truth is the one acknowledged by the mass if there's not verified source. So right now, Diodora was doubted, and the mass of his previous bootlickers didn't think about it too much and just separated from him for the moment. I could see Sona looking at me, almost screaming in frustration by the idiocy of most of them. It was like she was saying, really? I mean, really? They believe that? Really? She's fun. As for Diodora, He stayed there silently looking murderous and scared. I could see him sending fearful glance toward Ajuka. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at that. That was until an adult came, breaking the silent rule of no adult during a youth gathering. If anything, it would make Diodora look weak, and I could see the adults around looking disapprovingly at the meddler coming. No-name busybody. Hello, everyone. I couldn't help but hear some snippet of conversation from here. I just wanted to say that being a member of House Astaroth, I can confirm that he is indeed our young heir. Alexander, wow. You mean that guy with no manner and brain is really the best House Astaroth has? How the mighty has fallen. I said, looking sad. After my comment, I could see that no-name busybody was not happy. As for Diodora, he was livid. Diodora, you, as the heir of a major house, I demand compensation for your slight. Seeing as you're nothing but a regular member of your house, I require a tribute for your insult. I thought I could see everyone getting still. Even the adults were now looking here, and they were not happy. Why is it, you may ask? Because there is indeed such a thing. It was a law created by the original Satan to plunder resources from the lower class by saying they were slighted. The law still exists, but to use it is just... Let's just say he's now in the negative in terms of reputation with the anti-Satan faction. As for the other kids, who cares about their opinions since he got blacklisted by the real players? But nevertheless, most were shocked and disgusted, especially since it was MY birthday and MY home. Sarorg, wait, I'm willing to pay for him. The whole thing started because of me in the first place. Alexander, ahaha, aren't you the honorable one, Sarorg? Don't worry, it's my problem now. So tell me, OH Astaroth heir, what do you require as tribute? Diodora, I'll take the maid that follows you. I noted she's a powerful magician, but has yet to be reincarnated as a devil. Give her to me, and I'll forget your insult toward your betters. And just like that, instead of pity and disgust, I could now feel jealousy and greed from the adult devils. Really disgusting. As for my mood, it didn't really change. I couldn't be any less concerned for a very simple reason that everyone seemed to have forgotten. A reason that would hurt him very soon. Alexander, you know what, Diodora? I said with an extremely cold voice. You really are the perfect target for face slapping. Diodora, what you talking ABO? Slap, crash, rumble, silence. I had slapped him hard. Having my body reinforced with Tukey for more than a full month really had done wonder for me. I had gained so much strength, I actually sent him flying though the entire ballroom, where he crashed in the wall, and said wall collapsed on him. The reaction around the venue were varied. The kids were mostly shocked, Rias even more. The adults varied between interested, surprised, or angry. Serafal was really angry. Happily, it was not directed at me. Ajuka was just showing interest, not caring an iota for his stunned and bleeding cousin. The real problem was my father. He was furious? No, it would be an understatement. Let's go with apoplectic with rage. Zeoticus. Alexander. Alexander, I know we want to say father, and don't worry, everything is okay. I'll have Selena repair the wall in an instant. You won't even know it was damaged. Selena, if you please. Selena, of course, young master. And just like that, she cast a restoration spell on the wall, and every rubble went back in the wall, repairing it like, well, magic. Alexander, see father, all is well. I said happily. Zeoticus, I don't care about the wall, Alexander. Why did you just attack the Astaroth heir? He screamed at me. Alexander, aren't you misunderstanding something, father? I just slapped him. Where is that considered an attack? I am a failure of a devil after all. How could I hurt the prized heir of the Astaroth family? Unless he's as weak as a common human? But that can't be right. That would be shameful. Zeoticus, I don't care whether it was a light slap or a heavy punch. You do not have the right to hidden heir. Even less in my home after I invited him. Especially not after you were tasked to pay a tribute for offending him, as by the law. He said, red with anger. Alexander, Lord Grem, I said as if looking at him like he was an idiot. Are you telling me you demand of me, an Asgardian citizen, to give the heir of one of the 72-pillar family whatever he asks of me each time he considered I slighted him? Today he asked an Asgardian retinue to be given to him, something I refused to do. What about when he asks for rune magic knowledge, or my house in Asgard? Are you trying to ruin the work of Lady Leviathan to better relationships with the Nordic pantheon? Are you trying to kindle the ember of war, maybe? I finished looking at him suspiciously. That did cut him right here and there. Did he really think I was an idiot and would attack the trash without being in the clear? I would like to remind everyone, I especially stated less than 30 minutes ago, I had a dual citizenship, and that this information needed to be taken into account if you interacted with me. I let the information linger a bit, and after some look of realization, decided to continue. I'm finding it unlikely that an heir of such a prominent family would ignore this important information. As most of you already know, since I could see some of you listening to my altercation with Diodora, he was already trying to instill some hate toward my cousin. It is not the first time he tries to humiliate fellow devil, or worse, maim them. You might not know this, but I discovered by chance that Nirina Gussion, the fourth-degree cousin of late Lord Gussion, who was supposed to act as his maid in exchange for food and shelter, mysteriously disappeared after serving him for a single week. Something similar happened to Latina Beleth of House Beleth, Heli IPOs of House IPOs, and several other commoners. After saying that I could see Ajuka looking annoyed, and the no-named Astaroth clan member starting to sweat. Knowing this, I am formally asking the Satans to investigate and confirms my claims, since the incident tonight became clearly too important to ignore. Especially now that Valkyrie Gondel, the representative of Asgard, saw how her fellow citizen are treated in the underworld. At that I could see her looking at me, as if saying, "Don't include me in your schemes, stupid brat." Seraphal also seemed both angry, annoyed, and hopeful. If my claims are proven right, it could only mean that Diodora is nothing more than an unstable, violent devil, even a possible murderer, and should better be put in our jail. Furthermore, should he stay the heir, irrelevant of the investigation results, it would also mean that the underworld was unofficially rallying behind his idea of straining the newly improving relationship with a godly pantheon. Something we all know, the new Satans are doing their best to avoid. To this effect, and to avoid a similar situation to ever happen again, I think it might be a good idea to finally erase that stupid law created by the old Satans of all people. I know most of you here think that this law is nothing but the tasteless remnant of a corrupted bunch or tyrants. And this is why this law is almost never called. Use this occasion to finally put the last nail in the coffin, and making a good impression toward Valkyrie Gondel in the process. Of course, this is only a suggestion. I'm just a kid after all. What would I know about politics and laws? After my little speech, I could see Seraphal and Surzex suppressing their happiness. I guess the old crone really put barriers each time they tried to annul an old law like this one. My father, however, was just here, not knowing what to do or what to say. As for the crowd, most were just speechless as what they knew to be a totally shameless statement. Of course, they knew most of my reasons were bullshit, and that it was just really about me going against Diodora, but what could they say? Someone talking against me now would be put down by Seraphal, just so she could end the tribute law and gain goodwill with Gondel. And the information about the various disappearances were true, so there's also that.
Hello, everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.